Welcome to the Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. On this week's show, we are going to recap the Fight Pass Invitational 5 that was headlined by Felipe Pena versus Nicholas Meregali in No-GI and Nicky versus Yuri Simões. We are also going to recap the 2023 IBJJF No-GI Worlds, and we are going to do a brief preview of the upcoming AIGA Championship that has 4 stacked teams. As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine, my co-host,
Miranda.
How you doing, Miranda?
Pretty good. How are you?
I am very, very, very sore from competing for the first time in a bit. So we'll talk about that on the outro. It hurts to open my mouth. So we're going to see how well we can talk about this giant show. We got about, I think, close to 30 matches to cover on today's show.
There's a lot.
Strap in.
Get a drink. Use the bathroom. Well, I guess you can do that while you listen to us. In all
we
honesty.
can't, but
we
you
can't, but you can.
So we're strapping for a longer show. Don't have a ton of news this week. I kind of want to get into it because
we do. Go to the top.
We
go
have
to the top of my document.
We have some news, but not
we do
a
have
ton
news.
of news.
No, we don't have a ton of news, but we do have.
Gutenberg has moved over to AOJ after leaving GF team. I was talking to Josh in our Grappling Rewind team chat, and Josh thinks he's been with GF team for like 12 years since like juvenile
like
blue
that.
belt.
Yeah.
I thought it was like juvenile. I thought it was purple belt, but like right around that time, him and Dante came into GF team. I think at a similar time-ish, but I could be wrong. But he's been with GF team for a long time. We're not really certain why he's made the move over to AOJ. Again, a phenomenal world-class team. Gutenberg has been phenomenal. We've watched him live in Baltimore before.
He's done some seminars locally too.
Yeah, he makes it around here in the Baltimore, D.C., Virginia, PA area. But that is big news, and I don't really know why. We don't really know why he has changed camps, but a lot of guys have been. And again, guys move camp. It's a thing that happens. But he has been one of like the staple guys at GFT for a very long time. So he moves. Wish him all the best of luck. I'm very curious to see how the AOJ move affects his game.
Yeah.
He's really looked amazing the last 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Ever since that BJJ Stars 5 performance where he beat Meregali, that was like his real step up even more so onto the, not world stage because he was already a world-class guy, but that was a huge win that I think he has continued to improve even since then. So really excited for that. You have another note here that Talita Alencar made her UFC debut. She won a split decision in her UFC debut. I was curious after her Contender Series fight if she was going to make it into the UFC or not because she had a draw on her Contender Series fight. She got signed and then she actually made her debut. So really cool to see a really... Talita has been a multiple-time world champion in the gi. I assume in No-GI. I actually don't know if she's a world champion in No-GI, but
I don't know it off the top of my head.
Phenomenal grappler. Another one that we've lost to MMA has made the switch.
There's money there.
There's money, but hey, and again, she's in the UFC now. Like, I hope that is as lucrative as it can possibly be for her, and wish her all the best of luck. Getting a win in your UFC debut, even if it's a split decision, is great. So she gets to stay on the roster, and I hope that she continues to climb up and make improvements in the division. Also, in news,
Mikey Musumeci.
Oh yeah, that's not even on our notes.
Yeah.
Mikey Musumeci just announced that he is now part of, they finished filming the second season of essentially ONE FC's apprentice show.
Yeah.
With Chatri, Sityo Tong, and a bunch of other fighters and athletes.
Yeah.
I watched a bit of the first one. I think it's cool that ONE FC is doing...
Where's it at? Where is it on Prime or something like that?
I assume it's on Prime, but I actually don't know. I didn't look that far, Miranda.
I know, I didn't either.
I'm not a big reality TV show guy for the most part.
Every once in a while, every once in a while, I get sucked in and I watch them, but not recently. But you talk and I'll figure out where it is.
Yeah. So he got announced for that. Again, ONE FC produces great content. I'm, again, not a huge reality TV guy, but if you are into that sort of format, it at least from the trailer kind of intrigued me. I was like, oh, look at that. Mikey Musumeci in like a boardroom in a business suit.
Yeah.
So I'm curious what the angle is. Again, I don't remember much from the first season of that show.
It's on Netflix. It's coming December 28th.
Oh, so it's coming in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So you got a Christmas Apprentice.
It's the Apprentice One Championship. Oh, it is the Apprentice. Like it's the actual old school like.
You're fired.
Like you're fired Apprentice.
So season 2 of that. Again, they have the first season. I don't know where you can watch the first season of that. I watched a little bit of it when it came out, but I don't remember anything about it. But Mikey's on it, so it'll be neat to see kind of
What? But
from Musumeci.
No, it's not, because it said it can be streamed beginning on the 28th in the following countries and territories, and it doesn't have the U.S.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Norton. Not really.
Yeah. It says
maybe get a VPN, guys.
Yeah.
They're great. There's plenty of YouTube creators.
If you're in South
out there
Korea,
that
the
have-
Philippines, North Korea, Hong Kong, Cambodia, Afghanistan. If you're
Oh my God, North Korea is listed on.
Yeah, North Korea is listed, or I would not
Okay.
have said them out loud. But like not on ours. But who knows where the hell we can watch
Streaming
it
in
on
Asia, you can find it. So he's on that. In other news, Nicky Rod called out Gordon Ryan after his win, spoilers, over Yuri Simões, we're going to talk about here in a minute, for Gordon Ryan for a 50-50, for like a $50,000 bet match, essentially, where they both put up $50K for $100,000 total for the match. Didn't have any of the testing requirements of the last call out for this.
Didn't.
Gordon in the post.
He just wants the rules from the the FPI.
FPI. Which, again, we're talking about the rules probably at length at the end.
Yeah.
They are ADCC-esque is the best way that we can put them. We'll go into it
I don't even think we're allowed to say that out loud, are we?
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
They're ADCC-esque.
Esque.
A lot of the same ADCC guys. Big J from ADCC, he's one of the head rules guys for ADCC in North America.
Yeah.
Helped design the rule set. There's been discussion about ADCC not being super happy publicly with how this one is implemented.
Yeah.
And moving forward, they've made a post that basically if you're going to use ADCC rules, you have to use ADCC rules. You can't modify them if you're going to call them ADCC rules. And so that'll develop as the week goes on. But the event happened like 20 hours ago at this, or less than 20 hours ago at this point. So new news. We'll see how everything shakes out. Mo, the head organizer for ADCC, is out in Kazakhstan currently with the AIGA team. We're previewing later. So we'll see how everything washes out in a week. But currently, the rule set for this event was similar to ADCC, but there seem to be much more aggressive stalling penalties.
Yes.
Gordon tends to like more attritive style matches where he can wear his opponent out and move at a much slower pace that he prefers working in his super fights. So, and for whatever reason, in the post fight, he was a part of an interview.
Yes,
and he went, "Yeah, I'm not gonna. I don't want to do that. I don't care. Like I've beat him. I'm not interested in the match. I don't want to have another match." He didn't say I don't want to have the match. He said no comment is what he said.
Do you think that Meregali isn't taking another match and going on vacation because he knows the only person that he can really go against
Nicky Rod
is Nicky Rod and or
Yuri or Gordon? I don't know though. I mean, we're at a weird point where it's like those are
because
kind of the only interesting matchups left.
Yeah.
Because
who else are you gonna put against Meregali?
Fowler maybe. Fowler would be fun.
How big is
Hugo?
Yeah.
You got to throw giant guys at him now, and that's the less. So, Gordon doesn't have interest in the match. Yeah. Gordon has a couple other matches sort of lined up that he was going to do, but he got injured. So I would like to see those matches first, and then I am interested in the Nicky Rod match because, it's guys at the top of the heap.
Yeah.
It's an ADCC Finals rematch, which you can put any year ADCC Finals back together at any event, and it is compelling and it's interesting because those guys were at the top of the heap that year. The style matchups change over time, and it's really interesting to see that. So that's what we got for news this week. Do I have any? I wrote down other news. I think that's the only really big news that we have this week.
I think that's it. They also what?
You go.
Go.
You
no.
go.
Oh, Fight Pass Invitational. They made them wear long sleeve rash guards.
Yeah, and they mentioned it specifically.
And that was a specific thing that they were told they had to wear.
Yeah.
Because Nicky Rod immediately takes it off.
Which I thought was very funny.
As soon as he's finished. Well,
he's done. Take your shirt off.
Yeah.
I think it was interesting. Not news, but I put it in the news section because I may forget about it later.
Yeah.
In Meregali's post-fight interview after the Pena match, he talked about, I've been going between both sports.
Yeah.
GI and no-GI. And it could be just how he decided to translate that to the English audience.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting that he specifically referred to it as two different sports.
Yeah.
Because we've kind of talked about on the podcast for a couple of years now that they're moving and they're becoming very distinctly two different sports, the GI and no-GI.
Well, because there's certain things you just can't do.
Yeah, and there's a different collection of techniques and rule sets and speed. And basically, they are very rapidly divorcing from each other in an interesting way. So it's interesting to see a guy, Meregali this year, that killed everything in the GI, did everything in no-GI, basically, that on the super fight scene this year, because there's no ADCC, it is interesting to see him referring it to as a different sport as well. I think kind of cementing what we've been talking about as we've watched the two scenes. Like, we're seeing less and less, or fewer or less, people doing both.
Fewer, I think.
Fewer people doing
and excelling.
both gi and no-gi
and
at that level.
And excelling.
And they still exist. There's still
yeah.
plenty of guys on the no-gi worlds that we're going to talk about in the second segment of the recap.
Yeah. That do both. But overall, we're seeing more and more people that are specializing, and a lot more of them are specializing in no-gi recently. So that's all I got in the news section. I'm going to try to put timestamps in here because we've got a couple requests for timestamps. If you ever see us not have timestamps in the show and you want to put them in, always appreciate the comments with timestamps on YouTube. So moving into, let's cover the Fight Pass Invitational first. Fight Pass Invitational.
Moving into the recap of the Fight Pass Invitational 5.
It was actually moved. The reason why it was moved from Saturday to Sunday is because the UFC card had to be moved from China. It was supposed to be in China on Saturday, and then they had to move it from China back to the United States.
Texas.
To Vegas, because this was at Apex, which is Vegas. So they had to move the UFC event to the Apex, and when they moved the UFC event to the Apex, that's why they pushed the Fight Pass Invitational.
Hey guys, there's a UFC card coming to town again. We got to bump you guys a day.
I don't know exactly what the deal was with.
All the grapplers went, I guess we're moving it down.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to do?
What are you
going to do? But anyway, just random fact that I found out.
So I want to start with this match. Headliner match was Felipe Pena versus Meregali, but that has some weirdness, specifically in the rules, and like the match was kind of weird, as a lot of Pena matches have been recently, unfortunately. Yeah. I want to start with Nicky Rod versus Yuri Simões. Yuri Simões has a win over Nicky Rod at ADCC.
Yep.
That he was able to advance and then win the absolute division to earn a shot against Gordon Ryan for the super fight for ADCC 2024 for ADCC. Nicky Rod came into this match visibly with, I mean, both guys seem to have a chip on their shoulder.
Wasn't there another match where Nicky Rod beat Yuri? Wasn't there 2 matches between the two of them at ADCC? Like, one was in absolute and one was in division. Plus 99.
Maybe.
I thought there was 2. You talk and I'll look, but I thought there was 2.
So going into this match, again, the rules played a pretty significant kind of. I don't think they played a significant part. I rewatched this match this morning. Again, it happened last night. I rewatched it again today. So again, notes for Fight Pass are going to be a little less kind of in depth as they usually are, just because of the time crunch for the events to when we're recording this. I initially thought the match was like pretty close towards the end. In the rewatch, I was very surprised at the pace that Nicky Rod was able to keep on Yuri, and really towards a third into the match, he gets Yuri down, and he kind of is able to keep Yuri in the guard and defending and passing, and then he spends a good piece of the end of the match, like I think almost a minute and a half at the end of the match, and then into the overtime. He spends most of the overtime 5 minutes, on top of Yuri.
Yeah.
And like working chokes, working kind of to get to the back, but Yuri is never going to give him the back. Yuri gives him the back for a minute in the regulation, for a very short amount of time in the regulation, but is never willing to turn. And Nicky actually at one point even calls and asks like, hey, is he going to get a penalty on the bottom because he's not doing anything? And they're like, no, he's not going to get a penalty there. But I was super impressed with just the way that Rodriguez was able to hold and flatten Yuri down and prevent Yuri from being able to retain and get the low side knee or the top side knee back into the guard and force Rodriguez to go into body lock passing. I was also really surprised. We had Gordon Ryan commentating this match, and Gordon likes and dislikes a lot of people. I am always impressed when him and Nicky Rod do not like each other. That is obvious. They have said that publicly. I am always really impressed with guys that can really put that to the side and give objective commentary about what they are seeing a guy they don't like do. Yeah. And a huge props to Gordon for like being able to provide really, really good information. He talked about some things that Nicky Rod does, like, hey, he's got to be careful that when he keeps the knee down that he's not going to get called for a pull. It was really cool to see him as a guy he has trained with so long, and then as a guy that he's competed against, being able to basically talk through exactly what Rodriguez is doing, where his strengths are. He's talked specifically about what Yuri needed to what not do in order to not let Nicky Rod body lock past him in the way that Gordon knows that Nicky Rod likes to body lock pass. I thought it was just really interesting to see kind of that dichotomy from like bad guy Gordon, bad boy, to commentator, where he's like very objective. He also commentated his brother's match and very objectively talking about like the techniques he's good, where he's good, where he's improving. And it was really interesting to kind of hear that side of Gordon. And we hear that every time he does commentary.
Yeah, he was he had some very intellectual commentary. He was providing good information, and he wasn't coming off as snarky or
which
anything.
Even a lot of the world level guys do really frequently come off as like almost dismissive.
Yeah.
And Gordon does a really good job of like never doing that. He's one of the guys that I really love hearing on commentary because he brings just such a high level of information when he is talking about stuff of like, oh, he's got a grip here, he's got a good, like all of the matches he talked about, there was little pieces of information where it was like, that is a really interesting thing to pick up there that a lot of other commentators would probably not have picked up on being an important piece that you've keyed in on.
Yep. So back to Nicky Rod versus Yuri. They've actually went against each other twice.
Okay.
Once at Who's Number 1-7 at 99 kilograms. Nicky won that referee's decision, and then they went against each other again at ADCC Championships.
Yuri wins on
round of 4. Yuri wins
on points.
Yeah. Okay. So they were
decision or points. Points, right?
Referee decision.
Okay.
They're both referee decisions, but there's one for Yuri and one for.
Okay, so ADCC wasn't points;
one
it
for
was referee
him.
decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
Both were referee decisions.
They were. I remember them being close.
So,
I remember the other one less.
Then we go back. That's today's event.
Another one.
That was the. I was like another one. I was like, oh no, that was.
Did you have anything that you noticed here, specifically the match as far as like technique wise?
I noticed that Nicky Rod. I was afraid going into this match once I started seeing the rule set and how they were throwing penalties at people. I was afraid Nicky Rod would start body lock passing and he would just start eating penalties.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to happen, and he didn't body lock pass.
He kind of set it up at one point in the match, but Yuri was not going to let that happen.
Yeah, he did like a mid-level. I mean, he kind of did. He wrapped around the waist, but he didn't. At no point did he go into his normal crush
body
pass.
lock low, gonna get over the knee
because
eventually.
You can't in this.
You don't have the time
for this rule set. You don't have the time. Yeah. You're gonna eat penalties if you try to do that.
And I think we'll talk about it at the end. Yeah. Is I actually really enjoyed this level of activity. I think this is where we're gonna see modern grappling.
I did
go
not,
to.
But
we'll talk about it at the end of the event. I think
we'll argue that.
We talked about this on the pre-show for probably 30 minutes. I think we both have some good points, and we'll run through what kind of our thoughts were for the event, but. The change of style for Rodriguez of being much more willing to put pace on Yuri, very, very cleanly won him the match. He even at one point at the top is looking for a head and arm. He elects though to never slide off to the side and let go of it to give Yuri an out.
His takedown, the way he got in on Yuri was interesting because I don't know if anyone else can get away with walking on your knees at someone to then take them down.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
I've done 2 takedowns from my knees in tournaments, and I need I don't even know how the hell I got them. From that position, you're not in the greatest place.
You're not strong and able to get him over.
No,
but I think he's so explosive that when he grabs you, that he's able to. He looked like he was able to just keep driving. And kind of knock him over.
He almost did like a duck walk. He did a duck walk at you and grabbed it, and I was like, "What the?" Yeah. It was just not. It was interesting to see that because that was the one time that Gordon was like, "That's more than a 3 count. He's down." Or something like that. But he was pushing forward, which I think became the difference in that situation.
We saw pace used as a weapon by a couple of guys in this event, and I think Nicky really did a good job of implementing his pace. Not overwhelming Yuri is the right way to put that, but getting in positions where he could dominate and then moving at the pace he needed to move. So he takes of all their matches the cleanest decision over Yuri. I would love to see this again. I kind of think that
I thought you would have gotten excited over the crucifix at the very end.
It was the kind of crucifix. I thought Nicky Rod was going to go for it, but Yuri did a really good job at the right, like 5 seconds left.
Yeah.
Nicky Rod kind of like moves to kind of look for something else, almost goes to crucifix. They have a nice top-down angle of it. And you see Yuri immediately duck the elbow and then get his head low, which I think is great defense, which is the defense you should have. And it was cool to see Simões being able to get that going. But yeah, I'm curious if we're going to see more crucifix from Rodriguez because it looked like something he was looking for. Yeah. And I think with a less savvy opponent, a guy not a world champion like Yuri, we might see him hit that a little more frequently.
Yeah.
So that was Nicky Rod versus Yuri Simões. What do you want to do next? Which one? Top of the card?
Let's go main event.
Felipe Pena versus Nicholas Meregali. These two gentlemen do not like each other.
Yeah, they were doing like all-out face slaps.
I really appreciated the referee. Like, he went like, hey, man.
Yeah.
You cannot hit him.
Yeah.
You have to stop doing that. You punched him in the mouth. I watched you slap him in the mouth.
Yeah.
You cannot do that.
Yeah.
I know what you're doing. And, like, I'm blanking on the referee's name. Not Miguel.
We can just keep on going.
Yeah, I'm blanking on his name, but he's an ADCC ref. Does a great job. I thought he did a really good job of keeping the action going for these guys that are at this level of, especially during the reset.
Yeah.
This match got kind of weird because there were so many negatives, mostly for Pena.
Yeah, and then Pena kind of tries to escape the mat in order to get a breather.
Even the commentator even calls him out for it.
Because he does. Because
funny.
if you watch him, it was GSP.
It was GSP.
GSP called him out.
Well, let's see. GSP actually talked about the tactic. Yeah. So there's a takedown sequence that Meregali is going. He's kind of driving. He's not really driving Pena off the mat. They're running off the mat. And it's an elevated stage. And you see Meregali.
It's a single. He has the leg up in the air, and he starts to run the single.
And Pena goes all fours wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
And runs down and then gets kind of knocked to his shoulder.
And then he's like, you see him like jump off the stage.
Roll his arm over the edge of the mat and like yeet himself off the mat. And I was like, did Meregali push him? Because this is a match where absolutely I could see Nicholas Meregali pushing him off the mat, Vagner style.
And we had saw that earlier.
Yeah, and it happened. It did happen earlier.
Multiple times earlier.
I think for the bigger guys, I think we need an extra mat.
Yeah, we need more.
There's not quite if you're gonna have this many heavyweights and like big heavyweights like Victor Hugo, Big Dan, Nicky,
and you need
Yuri,
not TV
Pena.
And not TV screens right beside your mat.
Yeah,
because like the picture I'm looking at right now, there's TV screens chilling right there.
Yeah, you give me a little more space for the big guys.
At least for a fight to win, the tables are right there, so you're just gonna fall on a table. Yeah, you know.
I would love more space if you're gonna have the best heavyweights in the world. Give me another mat. Give me a little bigger space for him to work, especially if it's elevated. But Pena like yeets himself over, and GSP is like, tactically give himself a break.
Yeah.
And it was at that point that I kind of noticed, Pena is really tired.
Yeah.
And is looking for, and Pena's a gamer. Yeah. You don't get to the world level, you don't become a world champion without knowing how to pick and choose and make your distance and give yourself as many advantages as you possibly can. He did it so much, and he fought the reset so many times. Eventually, he gets another penalty because he just refuses to get back into the reset position.
He probably thought it was going to be like, was it Polaris? When you had Craig Jones and
what was that?
Dude, that Paul Harris. And Paul Harris was like, I'm not going. I'm not going down.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
Remember? And he was like, I'm not going down. And Craig Jones, after all, was like, fuck it, I don't care, And they just started wherever.
Yeah, Paul Harris versus Craig Jones was hilarious. Paul Harris just like, I'm not going to start there.
Yeah, I'm not starting there.
And they're like, you have to start there. And Paul Harris just goes, yeah, I'm not going to do that.
And
like,
Craig
I don't know
was
what
like,
you want to do. Eventually, Craig goes, I guess we're not going to start there. Okay.
But I thought that was what he was trying. He was trying to see if he could get him to do something.
I appreciated the referee going like, no, man, there's not an option here.
Yeah.
Like because if there's a saying people have talked about, like, hey, man, you have to be stern with the athletes at this level because they're going to take any advantage that you're going to give them, and your job is to make sure that the match is fair in the bounds of the rule set.
Pretty much.
And I think other refs would have folded, or like Meregali was kind of like, I want the single, but he wasn't really fighting very hard to make sure he got it.
Well, because he knew he didn't really have, he knew he was going to get out of it 2 seconds later. He wasn't going to get much out of it. He knew even if he got his leg up in the air that he was going to either roll out of it or he was going to give it up.
You've lost the momentum, and you have to start from you have to start in that position from a static position. So They basically wanted Pena to go to a wheelbarrow position with one leg up, which is where the referee yelled stop.
I think he wanted like 2 legs up. Like when they showed it, like
well, no, they said one leg down.
Okay.
It was one leg down.
Okay.
And but if you look at where they stopped the match, and they get a freeze frame of it on the broadcast, which I love. Again, the broadcast for UFC for these events, by far the best broadcast of any organization. Like looking at Worlds this weekend, and then looking at the Fight Pass Invitational, like it is night.
I don't know. We got some good camera angles for Worlds this year.
We got some okay camera angles.
We got some fun. Fun.
But they freeze framed it, and they showed like this is where he's trying to restart him.
Yeah.
And eventually they did Pena just pull his leg out, but he takes another penalty because it's like a minute of him like stalling and unwilling to go to the all fours position or the 3-point position with his leg up. He's just not doing it.
Yeah.
And he's already down 6-7 penalties at this point because of like inactivity, and like Meregali's been pushing him forward and Pena's not been pushing back into him. It's a weird match where they get chippy, they get slappy, and eventually
I thought it was gonna get like there's a bunch of chippy and like smart assness that I enjoy watching, but this went to a level where Pena just like at one point was just like whatever, and like he just checked out.
Yeah, and this match, so what happens is eventually there's a really cool leg sequence where Pena pulls or gets into a half guard, that like bear trap half guard.
Yeah.
Meregali goes to step out, Pena goes to chase the back, Meregali flattens his hips back down, does the outside pass, then covers Pena's hip with his chest because he's kept Pena's hip drove into the other side. And then eventually Pena gets back to the guard. They kind of go through the sequence again, and then Meregali in the second time is able to keep the hip of Pena turned over and then essentially counter back take Pena on Pena's back take come up attempt, which was super interesting. He then, in transition, Meregali is able to trap Pena's arm, and then he sort of punches the hand over while and then Pena taps.
Yeah.
And like it was probably Meregali was gonna finish the choke.
Oh yeah.
But Pena, you saw him like very visibly kind of quit again, exactly like he did in the Gordon match after Leandro had died.
Yeah.
Like in the Gordon match is very understandable because like it is the day after the death of his best friend, one of his best friends in Leandro Lo. This match, it was really weird because he's been training for a triathlon, so you would assume that he's in astonishing shape.
Yeah.
He seems to get amazingly tired in this match and then sort of get frustrated and just quit again.
But we also saw that backstage he was being fucked with.
I saw a little bit of that.
Oh no, it wasn't.
Yuri.
It wasn't Penny. That was Yuri.
That was Yuri.
Okay, so no, that's not. Yeah, that was Yuri.
It was another kind of weird performance from Pena, and I don't like. Again, one of the best guys in the world beats almost anyone in the world on any given day. It was just, we know Meregali's good. We know these guys have beef, but it seems like guys that can get in Pena's head. We kind of saw this with Andre Galvao at ADCC 2019 as well in the super fight. But again, Pena was also very sick for that match. It's like Pena has had a couple of really weird matches in the last couple of years where he kind of, he seems like he wants to give up and sort of just like doesn't, he gets to a point where he gets frustrated, doesn't care, and like gives the match away. And you see him visibly like putting less into the match. And this was another one where that happened. I can't really speak to, the only person who knows what's going on is Pena. He's the only person who can answer this question. It is just so weird to have seen it happen a couple of times like this. And I want to kind of glean more technique from the match, but the story of the match is sort of,
it's a weird one.
This transition of Pena getting frustrated and then sort of like he gets his back taken and kind of like, nah, okay, I'm not going to fight it out.
Yeah. It was
odd. It was an odd main event. There was a lot of negatives.
Not as many negatives as I think Yuri got. Didn't Yuri get a bunch of negatives?
Not that many.
Oh, okay.
No, I think Yuri was -1-0 was the final.
Well, that was from -1-0 was when they went into overtime.
Going into overtime. Yeah.
Because that, I noted that because it was just
right. Yeah.
Somebody was like, that was Pena. That was Pena. That was
like
that
-7. Yeah. So the penalties for this are weird. I think this is a good stopping point to talk about the match. It is essentially,
it's either an 8 or a 10.
Yeah, depending on the match.
It's an 8 if it's a non-absolute match. If it's a category like a welterweight, bantamweight.
If it is a weighed-in match.
Yeah.
Or
if it is an absolute match, it is 10. And then they have a minute that may or may not happen between, because one of the matches we saw them just go straight into overtime. Right. I think it depends if your competitors agree to it or not.
Okay, I couldn't figure
I think that's
either.
I think that's the only, because I think that one Vagner pushed it, and I think that's why he got it.
Oh,
I think Vagner was like, "We're gonna go," and
Victor Silverio was like, "I guess
was
we're
like,
gonna go."
Whatever, and he didn't fight it. Where all the other ones, you saw one of the competitors.
You had a break.
Well, you saw
water.
You saw one of the competitors immediately turn, like immediately not make eye contact and just go to his corner.
Yeah,
which I thought was like smart idea, because that way you're not like being called a bitch to your face because you don't want
to turn around and then get the water.
You know what I mean?
Again, I'm not sure. I do not like. If we look at all the other events we've covered over the years, typically I almost universally do not like events with rules or with breaks in the action.
Yeah.
That being said, it's only one overtime, and it was like I didn't really think it changed in the matches we saw. I don't really think it changed that much.
No.
Of like most of the matches were in some sort of breaking point.
Yeah.
Or there was significantly more action in the overtime.
Yeah.
As a result. Again, I would like to have that kind of be what ADCC. ADCC does have a break too, where it's like they just restart them standing.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm kind of used to all the ADCC matches and all the ones I've judged recently and like seen recently. That in my head makes a lot of sense. The minute break doesn't really change. It's like they're starting standing again anyway. They just get a chance to get water, which potentially is going to lead to a better performance because you give a guy a minute to rest and like be able to drive again.
Yeah.
So it's like this is one of the few scenarios
or
where
a minute to gas.
Yeah.
Like one or the other.
I thought it was. I'm not sure how I feel about it with the changes to how ADCC does things. I'm not sure if we're going to see it like this again, but I thought it worked well. Generally 10 minutes or 8 minutes, and then you can get your negatives for a couple of different criteria: passivity, and for like if you pull guard and then aren't going into anything that's offensive.
Yeah.
And even that was a little unclear on the broadcast exactly what they were looking for. But they were really quick to call passivity for anything. If you were not progressing the match, they would hit you with a negative. And that decided a lot of the matches, and I think that's one of the issues that has come up with how this one ran.
Yeah.
I personally liked about it. We'll talk about it at the end, but moving on to Mason. Sorry.
Did you say that you carry your penalties from the first half into the second?
Yeah, you carry them from the first to second, but I wish on the broadcast they would show
a little bit more than they did.
Well, they would like flash the penalties sometimes that it was up on the screen, and they would go away. And then on the overtime, the score was up the entire
it was
time.
Up the entire time.
But I wish that they would have the overlay for the penalties the entire time.
I did like the fact that they just took the penalties, the penalties away when they added the points in.
Yeah.
Like that was nice.
I didn't have to keep
because
track
then I didn't
in
have
my
to
head.
keep. I didn't have to keep track of math.
Well, because ADCC does it the same way too, where it's like,
oh, do they?
If you
I never noticed that before.
If you have 4 points, and then you get a negative, you have 3 points. Like,
oh, okay. I never knew it actually. Showed that
because it is not a penalty. It is a negative point.
Oh,
so
okay.
we watched a bunch of Worlds for IBJJF.
Yeah.
IBJJF will give you penalties, and you can get up to 3 penalties in IBJJF. The fourth one is a DQ. In ADCC, you can get 100 negative points because you are penalized, and then you lose a point as a penalty.
Yeah.
So it's actually a subtractive point, which is why we saw so many matches that had negative points for the guys.
Yeah.
So, it's a different way to do it. It takes a minute to get your head around, but go back and watch Craig Jones versus Kyle Duarte if you want to see that in action for ADCC World Finals. Like Duarte losing points, then gaining points. And then losing more points. And
Duarte Craig Jones almost wins by just like 27 penalties.
Yeah, by just Duarte getting penalties. So, Mason Fowler versus Haisam Rida. Kind of how we previewed it a little bit.
If somebody wants to tell us why Rida kept on playing with his pants, because he had shorts on.
That is, you've mentioned that on the pre-show. Like you were so. If you know why, please let me know. Please shoot us a DM. Because Miranda really wants to know.
There's certain things that like drive me crazy when I'm watching matches, and it's really bizarre things. And for whatever reason, Rida kept on rolling his left pant leg up, and I was really like wondering what was on the pant leg. And then once he was down, you could see it, and there was nothing special in that part of his pant leg.
It was just the other side of the shorts. It looked like the same shorts.
And then Mason goes and rolls his at the end too, and I was like, there's something with the pant leg.
You have to know.
I just don't know what it is. Yeah. So if anybody knows,
so less commentary on the match and more like, why was his pant leg?
The mystery of the pant leg.
This was Rida, and Mason talked about this in the beginning of the match. He's like, I know Rida comes out super hard. I wanted to hand fight with him. I thought in the interview and it was a pre-fight interview.
Yeah.
The want to hand fight with him was really interesting. I was like, oh, Mason wants to fight Rida where he's really good.
Yeah.
Rida is very long, has very good hand fight, and is amazingly difficult for guys to get in on.
Yeah.
And the fact that Mason wanted to experience that, I'm like, oh, you're a guy that still cares about getting better.
Yeah.
That's terrifying. Because Mason Fowler has his rate of improvement has continued to skyrocket even after years of being in ADCC. And it's wild to have him go like, oh yeah, this guy's really good at this thing. I want to fight him here and figure this out.
Yeah.
And it's like, that is phenomenal. So he gets Haisam Rida, sorry what you called him. He gets Haisam Rida down and then
hits a hip switch.
That's a beautiful hip switch.
Just
overthrew Haisam's guard.
I love hip switches.
And he actually hits a hip switch like a traditional hip switch where he sits out into like a modified scarf hold, like a Kesekatame. Most guys nowadays, when they pass, they will pass hips down.
Yeah.
Mason Fowler passes, if you don't know what I'm talking about, like a baseball slide.
Yeah.
Like where the leg that is typically when you are chest to chest and side control, that is hip to hip. The back leg, he slides it forward and sits into like a traditional Kesekatame or like a scarf hold and then resettles it back. And I thought we never see guys do that. It's really uncommon.
Yeah.
And it's something you learn at like white belt, like, oh, this is how you pass and you slide in a scarf hold here and get this. But I do not remember the last time I've seen it in a match at this level.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
No. I know the pass. It's a great pass.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's a Kyotera thing.
It seems like a Kyotera thing that Mason gets from Kyotera, his coach.
Yeah.
But he passes, he gets on top, he eventually goes to the step over Kimura.
So the way he gets away with being slow on the top, because he like pressure cooks people.
Yeah.
Is that he slowly was working with the arms and then he was slowly moving to north-south. And that was enough progression for them not to call him on it.
But he was moving the whole time. Like what I liked about this rule set and what I really like about ADCC's rule set is that as long as you are moving forward and you are like, it can be slow, but you are consistently moving forward and setting something up, that counts.
I think this is almost because the when he went against Shingoli.
Yep.
Pat, hip switch pass, slow cooked side control.
Yeah.
To north-south.
To armbar.
But he armbarred instead of...
Yeah. So with Rida, it was interesting. Mason Fowler is really, really tight on the chest in north-south. And then he doesn't actually get Rida up to the side control, to like where Rida's flat on his back. Most of the time when you see people hit the Kimura that Mason hits on Haisam Rida, you see them lift them up and then you see them trap on either side of the head and shoulders with the knees.
Yeah, you make earmuffs. Earmuffs with your knees.
Mason sets it up from north-south and then immediately like kind of steps and just rips and goes over. And Haisam, as a result, comes up in that transition. But Mason sets it up from north-south.
Yeah.
And not a lot of guys do this.
No.
And it was interesting because, again, it's a smaller man's game typically. Typically, the bigger guys will get over. And you talked about it a ton in the pre-show where it's like Mason is a bigger guy that very much plays a smaller Kyotera-esque Roosterweight kind of game. And techniques like this really hammer that home where it's like, oh, he is not lifting Rida up and then isolating the arm and then ripping the grip out.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to take the time to do that. He's doing it quickly, so there's no reaction. There is no reaction, and that's why
he just Rida's like, ow, my shoulder, dog.
Yeah.
Rida taps really quick, and like I hope Rida's shoulder's fine because Mason grips and rips that Kimura out, which, again, at that level, that's what you got to do because if Rida has a moment to scramble, like he's going to get on top and he's going to cause problems for you. But the setup for the Kimura is not something we see typically at this weight. And it was really cool to see Mason have that like level of dominance in this match and really prevent Haisam from being able to get a lot going in the match in the first place, which is how tactically or strategically how you need to deal with Haisam is like you have to kind of stifle all of his athleticism, Mason gets him down and then grinds him, and then that's how you can deal with Haisam. So it was really interesting, curious. I hope Haisam's not injured. Mason called out, and it didn't call out, like basically went, Gordon and I were supposed to have a match.
Yeah.
I would still like that match. Gordon smiled, gave him the thumbs up. I think is very interested in the Fowler match still. So I hope that this is not one of those matches that in 2 years we're like, I really want to see the match.
Yeah.
I hope that Gordon heals up and we get it. Fowler looks phenomenal here. There is not a top guy in the world that I would not love to see Fowler against after this performance. I wish Fowler was like a little bigger.
Yeah.
But taking on a guy like Haisam kind of makes me think that we know he can contend with the biggest guys in the world. We've seen him on these events before on Fight Pass Invitational. Like, I would love to see him again against like Pena, Meregali, Nicky Rod, Gordon, Yuri, Duarte.
Can't go against Yuri. It's his teammate.
Good point. Both
I mean,
guys.
they could go against each other.
I don't think they would. I feel like
they would.
I feel like you got to give him a lot of
Mason
money.
was in Yuri's corner for his match.
I feel like they wouldn't have that match, but it's an interesting matchup. And again, but Fowler has just gotten so good recently, and this just puts a big stamp on it. So anything else?
Nah, that's it.
All right, let's move on to another really interesting match for the card: Victor Hugo versus Big Dan.
Oh no, this is the match with a million penalties. Cause see my big letters, millions of penalties.
All caps. Yes, I see it in the notes. I mean, Pena and Meregali had a ton too. But.
No, but I think this is the one where Hugo gets like a bunch, and then he gets points and gets back. Like
that, it was.
Anyway,
all the results we have here. Again, this is one of the weird events where.
I tried. Well, no. So
usually in ADCC the penalties are not as frequent, so there were a lot of penalties here. I am not used to taking notes with that in mind, where it's like I have to count back. So all of our notes are just where in what was happening at the match, what the score was at the time. And so
normally
when we do these in the future, we'll probably have to change our formatting to think about that.
What I've been doing is I was doing how many penalties they had going into overtime.
Yeah.
Because that told you like who had to create action.
Right.
Because if you're down one, if it's 1-0 and you go into overtime, the person with the 0, you don't really have to do much. You just have to survive,
and you have to maintain enough activity to not be
to not get a stalling. But
at
the same time, you're kind of up on points. Like in theory, you're up on points. So,
but in ADCC,
it creates a weird dynamic there.
In ADCC, though, both athletes are expected to create action and initiate. And again, I need to kind of review the Fight Pass Invitational rules. In ADCC, if you are up, and that doesn't matter, like if you are up on score, like one person has -3 and you have -1, the person with -1 is winning that match, and so you have an obligation to be the aggressor as the guy that is winning, which I really like. A lot of organizations don't have that rule, and I think that's one of the biggest problems in grappling. Is like, hey man, the guy that's winning can just stall and like stall his way to win. We see that in IBJJF, and it's a very valid tactic if you don't have this rule in place. But ADCC is like, hey man, I want to see you grapple, and FPI kind of, again, it's a modified rule set from that. I want to see you grapple. I want to see you go and showcase what you can do. If you are winning the match, I expect you to continue to be able to showcase and continue to be able to win the match, because the onus is on you to progress the match now because you're up.
Yeah. I never took how many. I just keep on writing millions
there were a
of
bunch.
penalties. There's a bunch.
This was the biggest takeaway I have here is that Big Dan got really tired.
He did.
And Big Dan, late in the match, explodes into Victor Hugo, takes him down, and then just
tries to push him off the stage.
And screams. If you don't know the last match, we previewed it. We recapped it again last week. It was like the last 4 or 5 seconds of ADCC.
Yeah.
Hugo puts hooks on Big Dan, scores, takes him out of the tournament. So this is kind of a grudge match. Big Dan, he gets Hugo down, and then it seemed to be like he used like all of his energy in that sequence, because then he sits in Hugo's guard.
We think he's like 280, 290.
I think so.
I think that's what they said.
Yeah,
like
and Victor Hugo was 263.
Yeah,
like he's still 25 to 40 pounds depending on how big he is.
There's a sequence that looks scary as hell.
Oh my god, the takedown sequence is terrifying.
It looks scary
because it's Big Dan, almost 300 pounds,
screaming and running,
Hugo over, and you see like, oh, Big Dan's about it. Big Dan wants to win, and he is willing to put it like everything he has into this takedown. There's not a dude on this world that's gonna stop that takedown. Gets him down, but then Victor Hugo, being the world class and veteran guy that he is, puts him in guard. He's like, all right, I have an amazing guard as a big dude. You look tired. I'm gonna kind of deal with the position that we're in now. Puts him in guard, and Big Dan doesn't seem to have a gas. And even Gordon, the guy that's in his camp, is talking about Big Dan needs to be doing. He needs to get to his feet, and repeatedly is talking about that on commentary of Big Dan needs to be doing X, Y, or Z. And really the main thing that he was kind of hammering on was he needs to be getting to his feet.
Yeah.
He needs to be forcing Victor Hugo to kind of play the guard and not just sit in the closed guard and give Victor Hugo time to posture him down and kind of time to work from his closed guard. And it seemed like for whatever reason, Big Dan wasn't or couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And then we see one more big sequence where there's an attempt for Victor Hugo to wrestle up. Big Dan tries to do a low side Uchimata counter.
It wasn't it was a scissor sweep.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
It was a scissor sweep. No, because I watched it and I was like, that's a scissor sweep.
Yeah.
He scissor sweeps him, but
Big Dan gets up to Uchimata counter throw.
Yeah. Big Dan doesn't go down with the sweep. Mm-hmm. He tries to Uchimata him and he's like, fuck
and
you.
Victor Hugo gets up, takes mount off of it, and then it really just looked like Big Dan was kind of exhausted because Victor Hugo's giant.
What did he get in this match?
He got an Americana.
Yes.
Miranda.
What do you think about Americanas?
I've said it on the show before. They're a big guy move, but you hit him on me sometimes for various reasons.
Yes. I knew you were hurt. I take advantage of people when they're hurt. Don't.
But it was he hits him. He hits him with a topside Americana. Big Dan kind of tries to straighten the arm. Victor Hugo kind of goes straight arm lock, but also just kind of rips through and grabs the Kimura. But it was interesting to see Big Dan get this tired. Yeah. And then
Victor Hugo realized it and was like,
yeah, he took advantage of it.
I'm going to go.
I'm curious to see if this match and the Henki Julissa match with European trials, how much change we are going to see from Big Dan going into the ADCC World Championship because he won East Coast trials. And if we are going to see either a change of style, if we're going to see Big Dan potentially either bulk to get so enormously strong that
how big is he going to get?
Or if we're going to see him slim down. I'm curious to see if this match, from the tactical perspective of having the energy to push the big guys around, especially because you're going to have matches over multiple days.
The other thing about this was because of the pacing, he had to keep a higher pace than he normally does. And what you're going to see with this is that bigger dudes are going to not.
They're going to struggle a little bit.
Yeah, they're going to struggle.
Absolute 10-minute matches. Yeah, it's interesting. Victor Hugo, again, an amazing veteran competitor. It's a performance we've seen, very few guys can do this to Big Dan.
And then he immediately drops when it's over.
Oh my God.
He just he immediately, you see the facial expression I'm done. And then he just drops.
And then in the post-fight interview, Victor Hugo's on one knee and Brandon McCaffrey comes up to him and then he stands up and he goes, oh, you can sit. And Victor Hugo's like, okay. And gives a great post-fight interview. But I think we're going to see Victor Hugo back in ADCC. We're going to see Big Dan back in ADCC. I'm just curious. Big Dan's not very long in his professional career for jiu-jitsu. He's still very young. We're going to see him improve, especially in that DDS or the New Wave camp now. I'm curious to see how this match informs his training. The guys in the New Wave camp historically have not had the same things come up twice as far as issues. They don't usually have resounding continual issues with things. So also, I don't know how the training is going to change to address this.
But if you think about it also, he's a lot more green than a lot of those guys
absolutely.
Are. Than we saw. There weren't many that we saw from this level besides Nicky Rod or J-Rod when they were still part of DDS that were this new.
They were this good at this level.
And competing at this level. So, it's not anything against him. He still beats everybody's ass on any given day.
He won the U.S. trials.
He's there. We're just seeing his problems. In high level matches.
I think it's really interesting to watch because he is young in his career. We are going to see him make changes and improvements based on this result, and I'm really curious to see what that is because he's a physical freak in that division. And that always excites me, and that's why I love Plus 99. Because it's hey man, as big and strong as they come, and Big Dan is one of the biggest, strongest dudes.
Yeah,
I'm very curious to see how he continues to develop. Victor Hugo, great submission performance here, has now 2 wins over Big Dan. We are going to see this match come back again, I'm guessing, as Big Dan continues to improve. But I'm curious who Victor Hugo goes up against next. I kind of think Yuri. But Yuri's coming off a loss here from Nicky Rod. Nicky Rod's already beat Victor Hugo, I think at ADCC.
Okay.
So I'm like, it's in this racket. I think maybe you give him Meregali.
Meregali's not taking anybody.
Yeah, Meregali's on vacation now, so it's Victor Hugo's in kind of a weird spot for matchups. I'm curious, maybe like a guy like Luke Griffith.
Yeah.
Was the next what other big guy in 99 are you going to give Victor Hugo for another Fight Pass Invitational? We've seen him versus Gordon. He sits in kind of an odd spot. I love to see Victor Hugo compete. He's one of the most exciting big dudes, but he does sit in a weird spot for matchmaking right now. So you want to do what's the next one you want to do?
We'll just keep on. We'll go up. So
Nicky Ryan. Yeah. They're on the same card. It kills me. Nicky Ryan versus Jonnatas Gracie. Nicky Ryan is amazing and has amazing collections of technique, but if you can run more of a pace on him, and then if you can stifle a lot of his transitions, kind of like Elijah Dorsey and kind of like Jonnatas Gracie here, it seems like a more repeatable way that you can sort of deal with the technical ability of Nicky Ryan.
Yeah. It's also, with this rule set, it was also that you could pull guard, but you had to pull guard into something.
Yeah, into attacks,
into an attack.
Or into offense is what they were saying.
Because we didn't, I don't think we saw Nicky Ryan tried to wrestle the whole time.
Yeah.
And that wound up being Nicky Ryan kind of gassing himself out on his feet.
Yeah, it was interesting. He seemed to, again, we saw a lot of guys weirdly get tired in this event. We've known Nicky Ryan has had previously notable issues with gas. Like, he tends to get tired in
Vegas
longer
is also
matches.
Somewhere that you have to almost condition yourself to be in Vegas.
I always forget Vegas' altitude.
Yeah, it's altitude. It's not high altitude, but it's still enough.
It's high enough.
It's still high enough that you definitely don't feel amazing if you're not used to it.
Jonnatas Gracie wins on points.
Yeah.
I mean, he pressures. Nicky Ryan has one really kind of decent guillotine grip that Jonnatas Gracie is able to posture out of. But really, it was Jonnatas Gracie was able to stay on top and on the offensive. Yeah. And then Nicky Ryan wasn't really able to get a lot going.
Yeah. And
Jonnatas Gracie was able to sort of win on a very close match, but on activity.
He did take him down at one point. That took away some of his
he had negatives.
But
I'm blanking on what the ending score was here, but I remember there was.
It's right there. It's -2 to -1.
Oh, that is the ending score.
That is,
okay.
And it's in the same order as the name.
Okay.
Because I'm that OCD.
So Nicky Ryan had -2. Jonnatas Gracie had -1 at the end, but Jonnatas Gracie comes from behind there by getting a 2-point takedown at one point in the match.
Yeah.
To then bring it to -1 from -3. I think that was the sequence.
Yeah.
You can see why this, if you can hear why this is a little confusing, because again, I'm very not used to having to write our notes like this, where the points will change this drastically into the negatives throughout the match.
Yeah.
Usually you have like a negative point, not 15 of them.
Not 15 that you then get 2 sweeps and 1 duck under and then do this and then,
Jonnatas Gracie, and it's sort of what we talked about in the match, that in that higher pace that we've seen from Jonnatas Gracie in the last year.
Yeah, if we would have got the low pace Jonnatas Gracie, he would have had 15 penalties by the time he was done.
I think Nicky Ryan would have won that comfortably, but that extra pace Jonnatas Gracie has, and really the ability to kind of stifle and not create a lot of scrambles with Nicky Ryan.
Yeah.
Like pressure into the hips, pressure into the half guard. He gets in the half guard, gets double unders at one point on Nicky Ryan, and then kind of holds him there and looks to pass. Nicky Ryan does a great job of getting back to the guard, but he's forcing Nicky Ryan to play defensively back into the guard to stop the passing and putting enough pressure on him to make him tired and slow him down.
Yeah.
And I kind of have less technical information on the match that was super interesting to me, other than he seemed to get kind of tired. Yeah. And I'm curious if going into West Coast trials here for Nicky Ryan, or how we are going to see him address that, address the need to potentially, in these super high world level matches, be able to keep a more consistently high pace. because his game historically hasn't really needed that because he's been so good in the transitions, so good in the scrambles. And so he runs into a guy like Jonnatas Gracie or runs into a guy like Elijah Dorsey, that are willing to kind of put not a lot of opportunity for scrambles, but a lot of opportunities to just not have negatives put against you.
Yeah.
And, Jonnatas Gracie really played it very similar to how Elijah Dorsey played it, with some takedowns, with a little more activity there. But on a technical perspective, a lot less to kind of go on. I'm curious, I can't really even take a lot away from Jonnatas Gracie, not take away from him, but technically take things about his game away from the matchup because it was he played it exactly how you need to play it.
He did.
Elisabeth Clay versus Luiza Monteiro. This was kind of odd.
Yeah.
From a tactical perspective from Luiza. She decides to play or go into the legs with Elisabeth Clay.
She goes for a footlock. She goes for a straight ankle.
A straight ankle lock, which we know she has a very, very good strength. We've seen her finish people at the highest levels with straight ankle locks. But in no-gi versus Elisabeth Clay, who has, I think, probably, as far as women goes, I'm trying to think of a better footlocker in the world than Elisabeth Clay. Who is a more dangerous leg locker for the ladies than Clay?
Not really.
There
really isn't.
I can't think of one who has more high level wins by leg lock than. She has a win over Fionn Davies.
Yeah.
Who won double gold here at No-GI Worlds. The best.
And you almost see Elisabeth Clay look at her really?
You saw Clay's expression go I guess we're doing this.
Yeah.
And eventually Clay pretty quickly in the match. Elizabeth
Not
Clay,
eventually. She gets a heel.
the setup.
Yeah.
She gets her leg over. She forces Luiza Monteiro into a hip up position with the reap over, and then she's digging low side heel, and she's kind of waiting.
Yeah.
And then Elizabeth Clay kind of brings the arm out, gets it up, and then Gordon Ryan's talking about, okay, Monteiro's going to turn here and escape. And Monteiro kind of goes to push the leg off and kind of goes to a high stance on her hip and then stops.
Yeah.
And then I'm waiting for Monteiro to start hand fighting or to come up or to turn or do something. And she kind of stops. And then she waits and then
gets
she
hooked.
Taps.
Yeah.
And it was a I don't really know what happened in the match.
Yeah.
It was really odd to go into the legs and then not pull and defend.
Because you would think if you were going against somebody who is a world-class leg locker.
The best leg locker, probably.
You try not to go into that position.
Well,
there are times where you...
Clay, I think, can put anyone there, but it was really odd to see Luiza not...
But she put herself there.
Yeah.
When she went after the straight ankle, she put herself into a position for Clay to grab her feet.
Yeah, it was...
She didn't hide her feet. She put them right there.
It was she wanted to get into a shootout battle with Clay, and then she didn't really defend a ton once she had gotten there. It was odd. I go back and watch the finish. It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
I don't really have a lot of analysis other than it was kind of an odd sequence where Clay is the best woman in the world at leg locks at the highest level, and Monteiro doesn't make the roll and turn to free. Her knee line's it's close to being free.
Yeah.
I know that Clay, and people have said Clay has an insane bite on the leg, so maybe she was hoping that she could lift up, but she kind of pauses in that position. So again, the only person that knows is Elisabeth Clay and Luiza Monteiro for being in that heel hook, but that's the match. Elisabeth Clay takes it via heel hook over Luiza Monteiro. Moving on to Vitor Silverio versus Vagner Rocha. Your note here: Vagner puts a pace on Silverio.
Yeah. He does.
That's
the match. And Vagner does enough standing that he keeps it moving. He gets chippy as he normally does.
Yeah. Good luck. Good luck fighting Vagner Rocha.
Yeah.
He's gonna smile at you and he's gonna hit you.
Dude, he was talking to commentators.
Dude, Vagner,
He was talking to the commentators during the match.
What it is like to compete against Vagner Rocha. Because no matter who you are in the world,
he talks shit to
that
everybody.
guy will get in your head.
Yeah.
He will get there a little bit. Even in the Gordon Ryan match.
He told the commentators right after overtime, because this was the only match that went from regulation straight into overtime.
Yeah.
He told...
I missed that, actually.
They go straight in. And he looks over at the commentators, and the commentators are like, Rocha just told us that Silverio's tired. Like, and it was like, so he's not even like he's not even talking shit to like the competitors now. He's talking shit to everybody.
There's not a calmer man in the sport competing than Vagner, and that is terrifying.
He like giggles.
He's just having a good time. He's out there doing it. He's competing with his son. Achilles was on the card. He was having a great time with Achilles on the card. Eventually,
he was talking shit in the corner when Achilles was competing. Right. Like he was saying, like he was talking.
I cannot imagine.
He was like, he's something. That's all I have to say. I mean, I like it, but it's hilarious.
Wagner's my wife's favorite grappler, and he's up there for me as well.
Yeah. But
I'm trying not to be too like favorites on the show, but like all of the performances he's put on and all of the moments that he has given us to talk about on the show, always entertaining. Gets a belly down rear naked choke, like not even a rear naked choke, like a face crank.
It's a face crank choke.
It's like he has Silverio completely based out, and you see Vagner go muffler or python as he calls it, and it kind of he forces Silverio's head up, and then he goes, and he threads it right over like the jaw and face, and just like lifts like straight up to the side.
Yeah.
And Silverio's like, yeah, no man, you're Vagner Rocha. You've been here, and you will not. You will squeeze and turn until it breaks. So I'm
like
good.
Rip your head off.
Yeah, but it's pro level competition. Like you watch Owen O'Flanagan break Wagner's foot. And Vagner was like, all right, let's keep going.
Yeah.
And I was like, I broke your foot. And I was like,
whatever.
And? Yeah. Good sir, we're in ADCC. It does not matter. It is a foot.
It's like, I will just have a scooter for the next day.
As a strat. So Vagner Rocha takes that. We had, last name, sorry, Adam Guzman.
Adam Guzman.
Versus
Let's
Wilson.
see if I wrote down names. Did I write down names?
This was a really cool...
this was oh shit, we're about to go into overtime.
Yeah.
I need to freaking put this shit on now.
Wilson goes for mount and then jumps up super high, threads the leg over, looks like he's going to go mounted triangle, and then falls to his back and then rips the armbar with like 28 seconds left in the match. Like, I loved the urgency here from Wilson. And again, for a prelim match, it was a lot of fun. Like, this is what I love to see in the prelims: is guys really going out there looking to put away Christian Aaron Wilson.
Yeah, Aaron Wilson versus Christian Guzman.
Yeah. So yeah, Aaron Wilson hits a really nifty mounted triangle armbar, or not mounted, started mounted, but armbar from the back, like very quickly. He looked very dominant in the match. The passing sequence earlier in the match looked good. The takedown sequence looked good. Like, Aaron Wilson looked very, very good in this match. We've seen him for a couple of years now, and Wilson's continuing to improve. It's cool to see him on the Fight Pass Invitational because it's a small card, so cool to see him on there. We also had Hannah Goldy on the card
versus Amanda Mazza.
Yeah, this was a catchweight. Goldy was like, "I do MMA, but I'm going to play for my guard."
She said she was sick and she didn't feel good. That's what she said in the post-fight.
In the post-fight, yeah. I was like, she's like, I just want to play for my guard.
Yeah.
And then she hits a really nice high guard. She then moves it over to a triangle Kimura and then hits the same side armbar.
Yeah.
And that was, she hits like a Kimura from the triangle.
Yeah, Kimura from the triangle.
Yeah.
That's a Kimura, right? It's not Americana.
That's Kimura.
That's Kimura.
Yeah, Americana from the armbar is a wild one. That's a rarity.
Yeah.
But yeah, hits the Kimura. Mazza goes like, tap pretty quick.
Oh, I got one
is
of
like
those
ripping it out sideways, and it's gonna break.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see, again, MMA fighters being willing to play from the guard and having dynamic and fun guard games, because it is more of a rarity these days.
In this situation, it was probably a smart idea because we know Mazza loves to like throw arm bars up.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a good decision because that made her then have to pass.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, she did try. She does this like, she does almost like a jumping armbar.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she kind of goes over your legs and jumps into the armbar. And she does that like once at the very beginning, and Goldy's like, and then she just kind of keeps on going, like using that arm that Mazza uses to like kind of grab the head and collect it. And she just keeps on going after that arm because Mazza has to, like, for whatever reason, keeps on with the same exact progression.
The sequence that she likes to hit there.
So
it was fun.
Yeah, it was a fun match.
Opening on the match on the card, we had Achilles Rocha versus Andy Varela. This was Varela
controlling.
Yeah.
Controlling, but there are no points, so it doesn't matter.
Yep, in the early section of the match is only negative. So it's like Achilles is on the defensive. He has some really fun like standing Granby rolls where it's like Varela has underrated wrestling. I don't think people really think about how good. We talk about it a little bit now and again, but we don't get a chance to talk about Varela like that often as much as I would like to. Dude has scary wrestling. He's super strong and scary wrestling. Like, we see him put Achilles down and turn Achilles over like a bunch of different times, but Achilles is in it. We were concerned after Achilles' trial performance, like how he was going to look. He looked fine. He looked in it. He looked on the defensive, but again, you're going against a guy like Andy Varela, who is from Vegas.
He was
altitude.
He was also very good at Rocha was very good at reversing Varela's takedowns. Like almost using his momentum, because there's certain takedowns that you have to have, like especially Varela puts so much momentum into them that if you can just like divert it, you can make it into
and
yours.
That's one of the things that we know from Vagner, and we know, and now Achilles, we're seeing him pick up that. And if you go back and watch Achilles his training footage with Cyborg at Fight Sports, you can see this happening. I told him Cyborg, we're going to put him down, and Achilles will roll through.
Of course, because he's probably tiny. He's still a big man to us. Yeah. But he's still tiny in that room. In that room, he's 185 is still a small guy in that room.
Yeah, Fight Sports guys are, a lot of them are real big. So, versus it, again, the standing Granby that like it's like a jumping Granby that Rocha hits early in this match was wild to me. Just to have the awareness mid-air to go, oh, he's taking me down this way. I'm just going to come into air while he's pushing me, let him continue to push me and roll over and force him to track and cover me. And then I'll roll to turtle. They're both used to ADCC, so there's no score there in that sequence. And then Rocha, we're seeing a lot of him going to turtle and willing to work out of that. Like, has a very, very ADCC informed game, and you could see that, like, oh, that is obviously.
But at the same time, Rocha was doing a good job at also not letting him get both hooks in. Yeah, because even when it was not the points period, he still wasn't letting Varela get both of his hooks in.
Yeah, and he was super diligent the entire time.
Yeah, because Varela was on his back multiple times.
I think 2 times almost, maybe a third time total.
Yeah, I think
there was 2 times where Varela jumped Rocha's back, but wasn't able to ever score it or flatten Rocha out or like really get to a spot there in ADCC or in the Fight Pass Invitational rules you would score. Yeah, and that was really cool to see because you're like, oh yeah, this is definitely where Achilles has made big improvements in his game, is like being able to avoid that second hook. And Varela would get the first hook in, but he would never be able to get the turnover, and he would never be able to get either like a Sulubayev or anything else going. He would have to fall off the position. And again, Varela's a dude that we see finish from the back a lot and has really, really good back rides. So it was kind of curious that he wasn't able to ever punch the second hook in here. And I was kind of curious about maybe the way that Achilles was standing or exactly what he was doing to prevent Varela from getting that second hook, because he was there, but he couldn't get it. Yeah, like Achilles would not let Varela get that second hook in, and he would not even let him get to the point where Varela had his hips squared over Achilles' hips at the back to be able to get comfortable to use his momentum to swing the hook in, which we've seen Varela do as well. Yeah. He just always kept him on the same side of the hip that the initial hook was in. Yeah. And I need to actually go back and watch and potentially see what he's doing with his hands, because I think he has to be something with the shoulders or the hands to prevent Andy from being able to get that hook in. Yeah. Achilles takes it on points. I've actually missed. I don't remember the last scoring sequence here. You have it as 6 to -1, but I thought it was a 1-point game at the end.
No, it was going into overtime. It was like that, and then it was takedowns because he kept on reversing the takedowns. And because
that's what it was. Okay,
because this was not ADCC rules, he was getting takedown points on reversals of takedowns.
Okay. Well, you can score in ADCC. The person who lands on top in ADCC is the one that scores.
But if you still have to initiate.
No, you don't. You don't. There's no initiation.
There's no initiation.
No,
for
not for scoring.
For scoring.
So it's whoever lands on top in ADCC.
Okay,
is
so
be the
that's
scoring
my bad then.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it was takedowns and it was reversals. Okay. That's how he was getting.
Yeah, because Varela would launch into something and then Rocha would like be able to get the top spot on that after the initiation. Yeah. So it's cool. Varela looked very much in the driver's seat till the very end when Achilles was able to kind of pull it from behind and get it done. So super curious to see how both these guys look at West Coast Trials. It'll be a lot of fun. I want to see Achilles back in the ADCC rule set again after this one. So that was the Fight Pass Invitational. We are
already an hour in.
We are deep into the show.
So
more timestamps.
We already got.
All right, so let's go on to ADCC Worlds. Let's go on to the IBJJF. I am so sore.
IBJJF Worlds.
Yeah, IBJJF No-GI Worlds. This event took place this weekend.
Also
we are only going to talk about the finals matches, and we're going to run through them a little more quickly because there are like 18 finals matches for the majors, and we still have AIGA to preview. So we're going to run through them. We're going to start with the way to start with the event. The women's female roosterweight division, we had Mazza Bastos versus Maria Cabral. I can never get Cabral's last name. It's like Result, but
I'll go with that.
Mariana, not Maria.
Mariana. Yeah.
This was a Mazza Bastos match.
Yeah.
Essentially, I hate that we do that every time we talk about Mazza.
It was less than a minute.
Yeah.
The whole match.
Mazza Bastos counter heel hook in a minute.
Yeah.
About.
Well, it's interesting because Mariana gets the backside 50-50, and you would think that she goes from backside into 50-50, and then that she would have that control. Didn't happen.
Mazza decided otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she didn't really even have, like, in all honesty, she really didn't even have that much control of the leg that she was heel hooking. She just ripped it.
Look, you're in a world final.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it.
I'm
just saying she didn't have a traditional heel hook.
Yeah.
She literally
We saw a couple. There's
it.
a men's match later. I forget which one it was, but there's a Lucas Valente match.
Oh, yeah.
Where there's a lot of guys that are just like, we talk about control
Valente
a
just
lot.
let it eat.
Valente was just like, nah, I'm good, dog.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever.
We talk about like needing for control, but a lot of times at the world level, the speed can win you it.
Yeah.
And also just the ability, like I can keep turning my body. Yeah. Even though I don't have your knee pinched, I can eventually just turn the leg far enough where like it just breaks off.
Yeah.
So Mazza Bastos takes another world title. Her third title. Thank you. That's a good note.
Yep.
Her third title. Move on to the female light featherweight division. Tammy Musumeci. I always forget she's now with Pedigo.
Yeah.
Her and Mikey both are with Pedigo.
Yeah.
Versus Jessica Khan from AOJ. Man, Tammy racks up 20 points.
She does.
In this match.
She does the whole mount, get off mount, get off mount.
Yep.
And I mean, Jessa tries to get her guard back, and she just kind of uses that against her to wreck the points.
Beginning of the match, it was close. Like we have some traded back and forth sweeps from both of them because Khan scores 6 points in this match.
The one thing I did notice for this whole event was how many times people were using ankle lock attempts to sweep rather than actual attacks.
There were a bunch of them, and specifically in the Fionn Davies match, where you'd see someone yank for an ankle and then kind of willingly fall down or come up.
Yeah. But I saw there was a lot of matches where there was an ankle lock attempt, but then it was more used for a sweep than anything else.
Yeah.
Because they knew that you had to defend it, and by defending it, you kind of had to sit back. And then once you sat back, they just kind of freaking...
Yeah, it
was
we're
interesting.
Seeing it used more and more over the last, like...
It was used tactically
year.
Rather than...
It's a relatively, not a new development, but we are seeing it used a lot more in this No-GI Worlds. I don't think we've seen it ever used before in the IBJJF.
Yeah.
Tammy racks up 20-6. Did she get the sub at the end?
No, she doesn't.
Yeah. I was curious if she's going to get it. Jessica Khan is super tough. But yeah, 20-6. The score was kind of hard to follow because they mucked it around. It was a lot of matches. I wish Flow would fix their interface and like give me more clean.
Yeah, they messed up a bunch of scores.
Yeah, there was a bunch of scores where like the Garmo match, they were flipping it back and forth, and like it was going from the Fight Pass Invitational, which had its own kind of scoring nuances, to then this, because I watched them out of order.
Yeah.
It was really tough. I wish they would go back. I wish the Flow and the IBJJF would use the graphic that they flash at the beginning of the match that has the full athlete name, and they would just use smooth comp.
Yeah.
Because fucking UFC Invitational using smooth comp, and that interface looks great. It's easy to read. It's easy to see. It has the athletes' names. It is one of the worst things about watching the IBJJF is that dumb lower left-hand corner name and points thing. It just looks terrible. And it really makes the sport look amateur. I wish they would fix that.
And it's difficult to sometimes follow people because it's your first initial.
Yeah, it's
then
terrible.
It's your middle and your last name. So, like, if there isn't enough room, sometimes a name will come up.
There's never enough room. And they abbreviate the first name.
Yeah, and you never know exactly who you're looking at, especially if you don't know these, it's full names.
Absolutely the worst overlay of any organization that we talk about on the show.
But anyway,
so Tammy wins 5th world title here.
Yep.
20-6, super dominant. That rack scoring.
Yeah.
Mount to side, mount to side, mount to side, over and over
well,
again.
I don't think she was doing mount to side because you can't get points like that in IBJJF. I think she was
back
going
to the guard.
But yeah, I think she was going through the guard.
Yeah, because she get just enough and then come back through it again. But great far side or close side knee cut back over, and then in transition would get back up to mount. Moving on to the female black belt featherweight division, we have Alex Enriquez from Atos taking on Adele Florentino, the former trials winner for ADCC from Sardinia. Sardinia?
I believe so, yes.
Man, Alex looking really good recently. Yeah, we saw her look amazing at trials for East Coast trials and wins a world title here.
I give Adele something because she was trying to wrestle with Alex, and Alex is, I mean, if you watch Alex enough, you realize that she knows how to wrestle.
Yeah, very good wrestler.
And she was like scrambly. She got up to her feet at one point. She jumps for a single leg on Alex. I was like, really? You're going to try that?
I mean, look, ADCC, Adele is a trials winner. Like, she knows how to wrestle. I mean, trials winner at under
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying she doesn't, but it's ballsy.
Yeah,
it's a ballsy move.
Because we know kind of the wrestling of Alex, and we've seen her dominate a lot of other women in those wrestling exchanges with like pace and speed. Yeah. So for Adele to be willing to kind of engage with Alex in that space was really impressive.
But it was a very close match because it ends 2-2, and Alex only wins on advantages.
Yeah, she has to go. There's one guillotine attempt that she gets an advantage for, I think.
Well, no, it's 3-1. It's almost pass. Yeah. It's almost pass. It's 2 guillotine attempts because she gets the guillotine attempt at the very end.
But those 2 guillotine attempts are what essential. One of the passes or one of the essentially will win her the match in a really, really close 2-2 match. Next we have is this earlier?
Oh, that's just
okay.
So during Adele's kind of rise up to finals, she goes against Jessica Crane in semifinals.
Oh yeah,
and she gets a mirror lock,
which is really neat. Which is something you don't see very often. That's that overhook from the guard. If you trap their arm, and you overhook it and you hip to the side,
then, Jessica Crane went to like stand up, which like I didn't realize would just make the mirror lock even worse.
If you can stand up out of it as long as you're able to turn, but if someone like yanks their weight into it as you stand, it drops everything into the elbow, and that's what it the video is kind of far away from the one you sent me.
Yeah.
And that's what will happen.
Well, because I heard it was a nasty arm lock, and I was like, I need to see this.
I want to see this.
I need to see this nasty arm lock.
Yeah.
Okay.
You send me some. Everyone sends me stuff Worlds Week, and it's always very funny. Like, look at this gross stuff. Like, oh, that was nasty.
There's all kinds of stuff. There's the guy that got that went out.
They got knocked out.
And then they restarted the match, and they let him continue. And
then stopped
a minute later, they're like, "You can't continue. You were out."
Yeah, that was so weird.
So weird.
Moving on to the black belt lightweight finals, we had Fionn Davies versus Amanda Bruce. Fionn taking her 3rd title, 21-0.
Yep. I mean. Bruce escapes really well a couple times. Like, she has some really good escapes. She can't really do much out of it. But she at least, like, she gets out of it.
Fionn is... sorry, you keep going. Then I'll say my point.
Oh, okay. And this is the one that... So, Bruce does almost get her back at one point. There are a couple, like, minutes where you're like, oh, Bruce is going to be,
she's very in this. She's still in this.
She's hanging, but then,
Towards the later piece of the match, it was Fionn Davies very much in control, both on the score and in, like, the positional dominance. There's a pass that Fionn does that we've seen her do for a couple of years now. But I'm trying. I've watched Fionn. I really enjoy Fionn's passing.
Is it the Pringle?
Pringle?
Is it the hip switch that she does in the air?
Yes.
Me and your wife did a seminar with her at in Philly at Logic, and she called it the Pringle. Because you throw your hips in and put your legs up in the air like a Pringle.
Okay.
The chip. The Pringle chip.
Well, she does that, but I was no buts about it. I was really interested to watch her do this in the finals because she's doing it from like Bruce almost has a guard that Fionn wouldn't be able to do this out of. Fionn's forcing Bruce's legs up so that there's only one top side hook over her cross side leg. And then she's checking it down, but she's not actually getting Bruce's legs like low, where most traditional backstep passes just won't work here. But Fionn does a really high step out of it, and it's almost up as opposed to back and around like a long step pass would be. It's like an up step off of the hook. And most of the times when you try to step off of someone's hook, they're able to track your leg up and you don't get off the hook. Fionn does it by also dropping her hip on the other leg, and she's able to actually get off of that leg and pass into side control and pass into like a position that she can get past the legs completely and score from. And it's something we've seen Fionn do a bunch, but it's something I wanted to highlight again because it's a really good example here of being able to see her do it. And I've watched her do it, but being able to break it down, like, oh, I'm seeing that not many other people can do this. She's also she's tactically staying in front of Bruce's guard. She's never letting Bruce like pull her back down into the guard. She's maintaining a really high position when she's doing this, and she's kind of far back from Bruce, so Bruce can never have enough power in her legs to lift Fionn up as she goes for the step. It's just a really interesting pass, and Fionn hits this in the knee cup pass not exclusively as her only passes, but like these are the ones that we see her start firing out at the highest levels and routinely hitting and beating the other world-class women with these kind of two different passes. That same side knee cut, the one that she talked to Jasmine Rocha about, and this one, that Pringle pass, where she just folds over, and then good luck getting Fionn Davies off of you. Bruce was able to do it a couple times, but it was a score back mount gift wrap, and then a whole bunch of trying to defend Fionn's subs that we know are very, very good. And Fionn takes this 21-0. Anything else?
Nope.
Moving on to the middleweight division, we have Gabrielle McComb taking on Thamara Silva. McComb wins it.
Yep, she does. This is an interesting match. It's a lot more. It's interesting to see. Middleweight must be where you get a lot more brutality, is a good way to put it.
Okay.
Like,
Miranda, you have me intrigued. Where are we going with this?
Like if you watch the earlier matches, there's a lot of standing and moving around. There's a lot more finesse. And then in middle, you
middleweight's
see
147 pounds.
Yeah.
By the way, and the division that Fionn was in below her is under 136. I think I pay
attention to this because I just recently put myself in middleweight, and I always thought middleweight was too big for me, and then I realized I do a lot better at it, and it's because you can be mean in middleweight.
Yeah,
you can be rough.
Once you get to 147, like the style, like you're talking about a style of game change.
Yeah, the style of game goes a little bit more like I'm just gonna be an asshole, and I'm just gonna force my will upon you. And it's a little bit more of that once you hit middleweight, and you saw it in this match.
You see the strength come in.
Yeah,
where it's like there's a lot of technique, there's a lot of tactics, but there's also a lot of like if you let me, I will just push you around, and I will do it in like a stifling way where it's like I'm going to impose this on you in a strength way, whereas a lot of times with the lower weight classes, you don't see displays of strength in the same way where it's like we're going to fire technique at each other, but the 147, the middleweights, that's when you start to see like what you see in the bigger men's division, like 85 for men, where it's like, oh, he just hit him with the ground, like in that sort of style where it's like there's less finesse in the tactic and more, I was able to move you and you weren't able to stop me. Yeah. And that's where that starts to come in as middleweight. So, and Gabby McComb, she plays a lot of that super heavy style game, which is why we see her in the absolute finals, because that style of game is very, very effective. And you see her in this match versus Thamara, specifically when Thamara is going for, she has like a mounted guillotine.
Yeah.
And you see Gabby shock to the side and kind of land down, and then immediately off of that landing throws Thamara to the side and like immediately hunts the back.
Yeah. It was a fun match.
Yeah.
It was a very close match back and forth. So
But that 4-point, that shuck off from the back, it was like technically a very good escape.
That
was the scoring sequence.
That was the scoring sequence at the end.
But you saw when she was able to take the back and throw the hooks in, it wasn't like a nice, like, oh, I timed it. No, it was like, I slammed you down out of the sub that you were trying to get me on, and then rotated to your back and then chalked the hooks in.
Yeah.
Again, like you said, the style of game is a little different.
Yeah.
It's a style of game I like to watch.
You
like to play. I
like to play it. Miranda, I like to play it and watch it. So it's fun.
Gabby takes some of the 4 points for that back take. I thought she was going to get the choke here.
Yeah, I did too. But
Thamara is super tough, and McComb is unable to get the choke, but does win on 4 points. Moving on to the female medium heavyweight division, we have Liz Mitrovic taking on Sala Mare Samola. I hope I got that name correct.
Mitrovic does some super aggressive ways of passing.
Yeah. And we've seen that from Mitrovic for years. I think we've been covering Mitrovic since she was a purple belt or I think since purple. I know since brown, since like early.
I know
brown.
for quite a while we've been following her.
She was on Fight to Win a ton early career, and so we got a good chance to see her game. And I've talked to her a couple of times, and she's like, again, like we have in our notes here, and we have in this match, like very, very aggressive and like power forward in her passing sequences, and she's very, very tall as well. And you see her really being able to drive her hips and her legs into a lot of her passing sequences in a way that is, again, very effective here at 158.
Yeah, and at one point, Samoa gets a armbar from the back. Like, she jumps the back, but she kind of falls off, and as she does that, she, like, grabs the arm, and you're like, oh, this is going to be an armbar.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to go armbar here. Mitrovic is able to fight out.
Yeah, gets to the back, and that's it, and 6-2.
Yep, 6-2 Mitrovic. I think this is Mitrovic's first world title.
I think so, because I didn't mark it as anything.
Yeah,
so.
I think it's her first world title, which is really cool. And it's cool to see someone that we've been covering for probably 5 years.
But if you think about it, who's normally at middle heavy is probably
Campa? Not Campa. Campa's big.
Not,
is it? Not Clay.
Yeah, Clay.
No, Clay's at 55.
Clay.
Clay might be at 45 now. I think, I think used to be.
But used to be medium heavy.
Did she? I always pin Clay's weight incorrectly, but she might have been there now.
I think she's competing at either light or middle now, but she's smaller now than she used to be.
I think she's at 45 now.
Yeah.
I think she's cutting down to 45 now.
But anyway, I think she
was at 45 for FPI.
I think some of our heavy hitters weren't in these brackets, and that led to some people that we've seen regularly, but not seen win regularly show up.
Again, you beat who shows up in your bracket, and that's always like, the Fight Pass Invitational was running, or Gordon wasn't there, this guy wasn't there, but like, hey man, the guys that registered and showed up and had the points to do it, you beat everyone in front of you. Yeah. That's your world title. You win it. Moving on to the black belt heavyweight 169, we had Angessa Sintra defeating Rafaela Geddes. Sintra has a world title in the gi.
Yeah.
I think 2 in the gi at least, or a silver. I think a silver and a gold at least in the gi. I think this is her first no-gi black belt world title.
I believe so. Do you know who she's married to?
Lucas Valente.
Yeah.
I've interviewed them both.
Have you?
Yep. I interviewed them at Third Coast Grappling years ago. I think when I was working for BJJ Fanatics. So they're actually probably on the Fanatics pages is my interviews with them and Homolo. And
Yeah. I thought it was interesting to have both sorry, spoiler alert, both of them win.
Valente wins as well. That's always cool. It's always cool to have like a husband and wife combo at the world level and like both winning. This was fun.
Yeah.
This was a fun match. Sintra has a really nifty guard. And for the heavier women, 169 at heavyweight here, a lot of times we don't see as dynamic guard play as we see from Sintra here. Like, Sintra also, we know how much of a powerhouse Geddes is.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen her just bowl over, like you said, kind of in the 45ers. Yeah. That imposing style. Like, that was Geddes' style for the last couple of years. She took a little bit of break competition, has come back. Sintra pulls guard here, and we know Sintra has a phenomenally dangerous guard, and then goes traditional sort of armbar from the guard. She traps
Well, she shoots a triangle. And then when Getty stands, she like grabs both, like collects both the legs. And then rocks both ways and just like knocks her over, then arm bars her. I'm like, holy shit. I didn't even know that was a thing.
I was astonished that.
I didn't know that was a thing. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anybody grab both legs and just like rock into them. And
it was neat. The core strength for Sintra here, to be able to hold herself up in this armbar for as long as she did, I was really impressed. Because a lot of times Gettys will escape by like kind of shucking you off. We've seen it time and time again where Gettys will shuck you off. She'll kind of almost give you the arm a little bit, let you kind of get there, turn, and then shuck you off and pass off of this. But for Sintra's hips didn't fall at all out of the arm, and you could see like her driving up. And then when Gettys went to lift, and typically where Gettys lifts, shucks, and turns, you saw Sintra not move at all. And that is a scary position to be in. And she was able to get it done, but it was very striking because typically, especially for the heavier women, you don't see that level of like core strength and balance to be able to get that.
Most people in general, like seldom outside of like maybe Rooster, do you get people that can hold a standing guard for a long period of time,
like standing up in that position, standing armbar over like that. You see it occasionally at men's like 45, but even then, a lot of times that shuck will do it. Very rare at this weight class to see that level of like strength and control, and it was super neat because it's uncommon. So Sintra gets an armbar win here. Takes, I feel like that's wrong. I don't know why I feel like she has another world title before.
I could be wrong too. I could have skipped over that one.
Moving on to the finals of the women's super heavy, we have Kendo Rusing defeating Michela Barros de Lima from, I think she is Dream Art. We have it listed as GF Team, but for some reason I thought she was Dream Art.
That was what came up.
Oh, okay.
That was what it said.
Kendall, good luck out wrestling Kendall Rusing.
Yeah.
And Michaela, I think is her name, is very large for the division.
Yes.
And you saw Kendall, I think Kendall's a little taller.
Yeah.
But she's able to get at one point a body lock and sort of run Michaela off the mat. And you picked up on this when you watched it.
Yeah.
Is how she finished the takedown.
Yeah, because she dropped for the knee, and then she tries to take her off, and then she like literally turns back in bounds to keep her in bounds so that she gets the takedown and she gets the position. Because if you take it out of bounds, you don't get the position back.
Which I thought was really cool. And to have that, again, that's why we like Kendall so much. She has that awareness on the mat where it's like she's driving out. Like,
and there was a mat return. I was like, whoa, that's some strength for that mat return right there.
Mm-hmm. And then flattens Michaela out. And one thing I like that the IBJJF has changed recently is that about a year ago, when you were touching the yellow border, they would just reset you.
Yeah.
And they stopped doing that. And now if you're like in the end, there's nothing beyond there, and you're in the yellow, and you're still like, you're in a position that's going to be annoying to restart, or you're in something, and you're touching the yellow, a lot of times they seem to have given the refs more discretion for their ability to just let it play out. And again,
let's talk about discretion real quick. How is it that every girl in this entire that we talked about had a bow in her hair and was told by the ref to take it out, except for Kendall Rusing?
Look, you win world titles, you get to keep the bow in.
Like, she had a bow. She didn't take it out. Every other girl had to take it out. And some of them had to scrape their hair significantly to take the bow out of their hair because their bow was like tied into their hair. Now, the fact that you did probably all of your other matches with the same hair and they didn't tell you to take it out then, but for whatever reason in finals, you have to take it out. But Kendall doesn't.
IBJJF can IBJJF.
I know, right?
So, Kendall gets the hooks in. Eventually,
sorry, random information from Miranda.
Gets the hooks in. Eventually goes. I thought she was gonna get the rear naked choke there. I
thought she was gonna do the same trick that Vagner Rocha or Vagner Rocha.
Like the camera angle was the same. I was like, "This is gonna be the same thing." We just saw Vagner do this.
Well, you did, but I saw this before that.
Oh yeah,
I watched this before I watched. But anyway,
and then she basically. Michaela tries to escape. Kendall grabs the arm, finishes the armbar from the top. Varenus armbar, wins another world title. I think she has a couple No-GI world titles.
Yeah.
I forget how many she has.
Yeah,
but
I didn't.
Very nice performance from Kendall here. Good to see her back in a competition. Seems like she's having a good time. There's probably many more competitions to see her in, and I want to see her in West Coast trials. That would be very fun for the women's above 65 kilo division. Again, you take the...
Ladies super heavy.
I would love to see her against Amanda Leve. That would be a really fun trial versus trial winner match. We've seen it before, but I'd love to see it again.
Amanda Levy's not doing trial or not doing West Coast.
She doesn't know if she's doing it.
Oh yeah, true.
I've not got my interview out yet.
That is true. She doesn't know.
Yeah,
she's
I haven't.
doing it.
I have an issue with the audio in that interview, and I'm working on it. And I have to reconstruct a bunch of stuff for the audio for my Amanda Leve interview from East Coast trials. I'm like 80% there now. I'm probably just gonna get it out hopefully this week, but it's been a nightmare trying to fix the audio for that interview, so that it's passable and it gives Amanda like it gives the interview sounding good because she gave me the interview and I want to respect her time there for that interview. Moving on, do you want to do the women's finals last?
The win, absolute.
Okay,
last.
absolute.
Yeah.
Moving on to the men's finals, we have the black belt roosterweight division. We have Everton Teixeira versus Rikishi Yoshinaga. This was
I don't think Riki. Is it Riki?
Riki. I think Riki. Riki.
I don't think he had any idea that Everton was going to go straight into a bolo in like the first 2 seconds of the match.
This was the most roosterweight no-gi match that has roosterweighted. Like this is exactly what I expected when you're like IBJJF no-gi roosterweight match world finals. I'm like, it's going to be a Baron Bolo into De La Hiva and then both double-seated open guard attacking the legs, but they're not going to stand them up because it didn't start with a double pull. It started with a bolo entry, and so that is going to be most of the match, and they're going to teeter back and forth, and then we're going to see some gross shootouts into the heel hooks that may turn into a pass. That was the entire match.
Yeah, it was.
It was also... Sorry.
They also didn't... Neither of them really wanted to commit to the legs at any point. They wanted to grab it, but if they didn't get it, they wanted to use it as a sweep.
It was very like...
And then
kind of like, I want this, but if you're going to... It was... You watched a very meta attack sequence go into play. I understand why, and I can't expect the athletes to like throw caution to the wind at this level because at roosterweight, those little teeny like variances on how you decide to do something or what decide the match.
I thought you were going to say the little tiny legs.
No, little tiny legs are what decide the match. Hey, my people. I can almost make that.
You can't make 122. You barely made 146.
I barely made 146. Had to take off everything to make 146. I found this match a little hard to take notes on.
It is because they move so fast.
They move so fast, and they're also both on black spats and rash guard. And so you're looking at, and it was a little dark in the venue, so you're looking at a lot of black spats on black spats, and a lot of like very specific leg positions that it made it a little harder. I really wish the IBJJF would like let the uniforms be a little more fun, maybe, because then it's easy. It's because for these matches it's super hard to see it because you're looking at black rash guard on black shorts on black spats, another black spat. So I can't see whose knee that is because I'm just looking at 4 sets of black spats. So it made it a little hard. There's probably more to glean here than I'm gleaming because of that, but specifically I had a really hard time taking away some of the transitions because black on black on black.
It was fast movement, so it wasn't like you ever saw anything for more than like a couple seconds. So then it changed, both guys countered, and it moved. Yeah. So
Everton Teixeira, who we've covered before on the show, versus like Esteban Martinez and stuff, takes that
4-2.
Super exciting. Next, moving on to light featherweight division, we got Juni Ocasio taking on Zachary Kina, who I think is on AIGA this weekend.
Yeah, I think he is too. He's the Hawaiian, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Because we saw the middle name and we're like, Hawaiian.
Yeah, Miranda, I saw the middle name in the notes, and then I went, Kama Halina Kina Coburn is, I think, his name. That's what his name is written as.
Yeah.
We've been covering him since he was a purple belt on Spider. He was on the Spider that had Fabricio Andre on it as a brown belt. Like I think that was the 2018 Spider. It might have been the 2019 Spider, but man, this was Juni from the seated open guard.
Yeah.
Kaina looking to pass and Juni looking to go for the legs.
Yeah.
Super close. One ad to one ad, near pass, sub attempt, and then the refs take a scary amount of time to make a decision. I'm sitting there like...
They also do dueling straight ankles where they're both belly down.
Oh, yeah, they do that.
They're like straight belly down, like face to the mat at one point. And
they both looked a little tight, but it was one of those matches where it's like absolutely both of these gentlemen will let their legs get broken right now for this world title.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're like, straight ankle locks don't mean anything at light featherweight because they'll let it break and they'll be fine about it. Junie gets the win. It was extremely close. You can make an argument for either guy. Yeah. We've been covering Junie since Purple Belt. It's cool to see him get the win.
He was doing more entries, really.
He was doing more entries, and he was the guy, like...
He was beginning the movement. Like, he would go into K-guard and go into the legs, and then Zachary would counter, and he was more of a, like, playing the counter game. And the problem playing a counter game is if you don't get anything started, you're behind.
Yeah, because you were the guy trying to counter, and Junie, I think, was in his game and never let Zachary open up his game beyond that. And so that's I think it's a very reasonable win for Ocasio here. But it took forever, so that kind of speaks to just how close it is. But it's cool to see Junie win, another major title here. Moving on to the featherweight division, we have Diego Pato Oliveira taking on Gianni Grippo. Diego back-to-back titles, weekend. He won Who's Number One over kind of the weird matchup with Baby Shark, where Baby Shark hurts his knee. Yeah. And then this weekend wins another one over Gianni Grippo, who is like one of the best dudes in the world, one of the most consistent dudes in the world in IBJJF No-GI.
Yeah.
Like, what does he have? Like 5 No-GI Pans titles. I think 3 world titles. Like, dude has a bunch. Like, he is not a dude you ever want to see in your No-GI bracket for IBJJF.
Oh, no, not at all. And Pato wins 10-1.
Yeah, super commanding win here. You have it in your notes here in bold. It's a very, very even match. Pato hits a very nice sweep to come up off of like a leg matrix that Gianni defends very well. Kind of gets tripped up and Pato takes him over. And then Pato goes into his passing.
Yeah.
And Pato has a really, really nice like knee cut pass to the outside that he's able to kick through. He gets over top of Gianni's top side leg. And then he settles on the side control. And then Gianni kind of throws up a buggy choke.
Yeah.
And
he throws it up a couple times.
Yeah, I don't know what he was seeing or feeling here in order to want to throw up the buggy choke like that many times, like in that way.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that Pato will tap to a buggy choke. And I don't think that Pato will be able to has the body and stature to get caught like that.
The one time I was surprised because I've never seen it. Like, I have a gym member who likes throwing buggy chokes on me, and I am known for taking my arm, forearm, shoulder, whatever's close to their face.
I use my knee.
And I just go straight into their face.
I use my knee.
Push their face away. At one point, Pato uses his leg to hold down one of Gianni's arms so that he can get part of it up, but not the second part of it up. And I've never seen anybody do that. That was the most random, like, not random, but he like was literally standing on Gianni in order to like not allow the one.
Yeah. It was a really interesting defense here.
Yeah, he has, like, it wasn't the normal. I've always seen people do what me and you do, which is you push down the face and the head.
Yeah, you crank it up. Yeah. But again, I think it's interesting because you know that you're not going to dissuade Grippo from doing that. So there's not an amount of pressure on this world
I'm curious,
you can put in Grippo's face where he's going to stop that. So this is an interesting defense because he gets away from the choke as opposed to just what everyone else does and pressures through it.
I wonder if I didn't watch the rest of Gianni's matches, and I look back. I
watched a couple of them.
Did he buggy choke anybody else?
I didn't see it.
So why did he think he needed a buggy choke in finals? Then?
I also don't remember anyone passing him.
Got it.
Which is the other thing. Okay, he was pretty dominant throughout the days.
Makes sense.
From the matches. From the match, I think
he normally gets guard. He normally sweeps you, and then he gets mount, and then he arm triangles you.
Yeah, well,
like that's
armbar.
This is like his general.
It's his general game.
It's his game.
Yeah, so I didn't see him play a lot from the bottom of this tournament.
I'm always
It was interesting.
I'm not a fan of buggy chokes. I'll go right out and say that.
There is a really nice camera angle later. I think the second pass that Pato hits on Gianni.
Yeah.
They have a back camera angle. You can see specifically the knee position and the foot position that Pato has as he's pushing off Gianni's lower leg in order to finish the slide through. It's something you talk about a lot, but it's really cool to see that angle for like a world-class guy because we know how dangerous and how good Gripple's guard is. And to see Pato be able to exactly the foot position he's using to slide through and prevent Gripple from being able to get the leg back up in that pass was really cool. A lot of the work that you do in passing, like that specific kind of half guard that Gripple plays, is prior to that camera angle sequence, but it is really cool to see the finishing of that where it's like where his feet are placed and how he's pushing off and driving. Pato wins it 10-1. Pato looked unbeatable in this match. Like, he looks phenomenal. I hope Baby Shark heals up and we see that rematch because
I would like to see this as a rematch, but not have Gianni throw out buggy chokes.
Yeah. It was
I don't think that's the most intelligent way to defend.
It was weird. I don't know why. I mean, even the commentators kind of talked about it in the match, and it was weird. Is really the best way that I can put it. I don't know what he felt there that felt like that was the technique that he wanted to win with.
Yeah.
Moving on to the men's lightweight, we have Lucas Valente taking on DeAndre Corbre. This was gross. I want to talk about one sequence in this match.
About the heel hook where it was like
it didn't break. But so DeAndre Corbre at one point, they go into the legs. DeAndre has a super deep heel hook on Lucas Valente, but his legs are super open.
Yeah.
And Valente's knee is pointing inside where he's not freeing the pressure, but he's also like relying on the flexibility of his ligaments to not have it just like this is one of those where you watch the leg snap in half, you're like, I could see it. But Lucas Valente,
it's also a finals match, so he might just let it happen.
Yeah, he might. But it was interesting that Corbre had his legs so far, and it was because of the position that they were in. They were kind of almost inverted down, and Corbre was turning up, and so he can't drop his knees together to control the knee line of Valente because then they drop to the same side, and Corbre needs to drive on the other side because if he locks his knees together, then Valente can roll through and escape. So he's opened his legs to keep the pressure on the heel hook going the other direction, but I have never seen a heel hook this tight with open legs like this in a sustained position. I've seen guys rip it like from an open position like this, but I've never seen a guy with the ability to control like Corbre was, open legs, and still put as much pressure as he put on Lucas Valente's knee. It was super gross.
Yeah.
And I'm super happy I didn't get to watch Valente's knee explosively let go. So that was nice. I appreciate that Valente at least, was diligent enough in his positioning to prevent his leg from exploding. But it was one of those matches where it's like, oh, this is why you won't be a world champion, is because almost everyone else in the sport will have to tap to this because either their leg will explode or...
You mean why other people won't be world champions?
Yeah. If you're listening, this is why you're not going to be world champion. This is why. Because, look at what, A, Lucas Valente can do, physically get his body to do, and B, is willing to let his body do. And, that is, when we're talking about guys at these levels, that is always a very good reminder. Again, I just competed this weekend.
Yeah.
I tapped a couple things. This is a good reminder of, what it looks like in subs at this level. Of how far guys will go for these titles. And it gives you it should give you a newfound respect for just the lengths that these athletes are willing to put themselves through to win and go be successful at these title levels. And that match is a really good example of just the guts that these guys have.
Yeah.
You have a lot of notes here.
No, I just have a lot. No, it's just Valente kept on he also did what we were talking about before, where he would go into the legs, threaten the legs, but he would use it to come up for a sweep.
Yeah.
He only got one sweep out of it, but he got a couple almost passes, I guess, or not almost passes, almost sweeps, ads.
Yeah.
Because he wins by ads.
It was a very, very close match.
Oh, it was very close.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting match all around.
It was fun. I think the willingness to throw subs that DeAndre has always kind of keeps things really interesting.
And I don't know. This was where I started thinking about I don't know if it's just the people that I'm around, but everyone I'm around, when you do De La Riva, they do it to your left side. And I feel like a lot of these matches I watched, people were getting De La Riva or like Manis, which is De La Riva, but just not with your hook in. It's just with grabbing the leg, right? But they were going it right side.
Huh.
And
I didn't go back and watch
he was a right side Manis, I believe. And somebody else was a right side. And I remember looking at it and being like, everybody I know that plays left side. And like there was a couple that had, I think Langacker was the other one, that was right side.
This is one of the reasons I love doing this podcast. And is for like, stuff like this where it's like, hey, they're playing on the other side.
Just because like there's certain people like I know of two people from your gym that pass to the right.
Yeah.
Everybody else passes to the left.
It's super uncommon.
And
like
only
certain guys do it.
Yeah. And so weirdly enough, you have to have a different game because of that. And I'm curious, some of these guys play like a really low mantis or like De La Riva in no-gi.
Variation of a hook guard, essentially.
Yeah, but on the opposite leg that I believe at least most of the people I know that play the game.
I mean, most people in general, I think
play left side.
Most people play left side.
Yeah. I think a couple of these
now I'm going to go back and watch this and figure out and try to figure out what he's doing.
As weird as that sounds, like some people, like I was like, I wonder if that's just like people don't know how to address it on that side.
So it becomes way more successful, and you're seeing this like kind of niche of like, oh, these guys will play this. It makes them significantly more successful. And we've talked about in the gym
a couple of them
for years. Guys talk about doing it specifically because like most people play to the other side, so they decide to learn and play to the side that most people don't play to. Interesting.
Well, and there's certain people that like I've learned after a while you pass opposite side on.
Yeah.
Because their guard is really good to their left.
Yeah.
But they don't go right very often. So almost I force them right just to pass them.
Yo, Miranda. I feel personally attacked. Anything else on that one?
Nope.
That was a fun match.
Yeah.
Moving on to the middleweight division, Tommy Langacker beats Anthony Michael Perez.
Dude, this is some crazy. Like his matches.
Love Langacker, man.
His matches are wild because like you think he's down and he's like and he just like comes out of nowhere.
Langacker does such a cool. Like, it's not even an inversion. He just rolls, like, he does like a...
He rolls around you.
Yes.
But it's like a baby bolo.
But it's off his back, like, straight up on his back,
but it's
not over his neck and shoulder.
Like, I didn't know how to, like, explain it. It's like he almost, like, spins himself like a top around people.
Like a breakdancer, almost. Yeah. Like, he gets underneath you.
Dude, did you see the video? There's a meme going around from a gi match at IBJJF of a super heavy, like, breakdancing.
No, I haven't seen this yet.
Like in the gi. It's wild.
Yeah, send it to me.
Anyway, yeah.
So, yeah, Langacker.
It's on my Instagram right now if anybody wants to look for it. Though it'll be gone by the time you guys look.
Podcast comes out in 4 hours.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe I'll have time.
I got to edit it. No, the way that Langacker inverts over and to get Perez's back is really interesting because he doesn't go over his neck and shoulder and like invert. He does a roll through, and then Perez tries to jump out of it, and then Langacker is able to close his hips, get up, and then chase his back, and then keep the momentum going while he continues to chase the back.
Yeah, it's wild.
And then he's able to get his hooks. And you're like, Tommy, that is unfair to the rest of us.
I don't know how that
cannot do that.
I don't know how he does it.
And then he just crunches and it's like what? How many minutes of him on the back?
It's a while. It's
not half the match, but it's close.
Yeah, it's a long. It's
just
time.
Him going power half over to Perez to keep him down. Fighting for the choke, getting super close. Perez being super diligent and rolling to the side. Tommy Langacker throwing hooks back in, going body triangle, and then going back for the choke, and then going back to the power half, and then going back and just diligently preventing Perez from ever getting one step ahead of him in the escape. This is how you hold back control and win a match.
Yeah.
Tommy Langacker is active enough. He's also both maintaining position and looking for the sub the entire time. It was a master class in like, here's how you win with a back take.
Yeah, he's fun. He's fun to watch.
I love watching.
And even some of his like other matches that he did during the day were fun to watch because you thought he was losing, and then and then all of a sudden he just like
Tommy Langacker. We've talked about him for years. Like
he just comes out of nowhere.
If there is anyone that can ever pull a rabbit out of their hat and sub you and win, it is Tommy Langacker. And he's also like that somebody for years.
He's also somebody that'll let his shit break in 2 seconds.
Bro, what's the Polaris match? So moving on to the black belt medium heavyweight division, we have Rolando Souza Jr. defeating David Garmo. Super close match.
How do you win this match?
Most TVs broken.
Yes.
That's how you win this match. Miranda sent me a video. It's the video of the. So we watched the Flow Zone match. It is the mat side video.
The mat side, because I heard the announcers go, "Oh, sorry, if you're watching the other video right now, sorry about that." And I was like, I immediately wrote down, "Must find mat side camera," and you get an angle of a double leg into the top TV, because this is the bottom. The TV that broke was the one that's on the mat.
Yeah, the mat side TV.
It's
the
not,
mat,
it's
mat
not the
lower
top
mat
one.
TV.
So like the camera is up on and the screen is low. So they go straight up into the above the camera when I think about it.
Well, they hit the camera too.
Yeah,
they take out everything. And Jake Watson on commentary did an amazing job the entire weekend. Basically was like, they've been training for another organization that lets you go off the mat. And I was like, hell yeah, Jake Watson. And Jake Watson also does commentary for ADCC and
they've
ADCC
ruined that
trials.
TV. That TV
it was smashed.
Yeah.
And so we talked about it. So it's a slower paced match. Both guys have some good takedowns. I kind of think, and you talked about it, that takedown that ended up breaking the TVs might have been the deciding factor for Rolando.
The only thing that bothers me about this match, and I don't know why, I mean, I kind of understand why it wasn't scored, but at the same time, was that at one point Ronaldo goes to pull guard. He pulls guard, but then he seems to be like, maybe I don't want to pull guard, and Garmo shoves him to the ground.
Yeah.
And I guess the problem there is Ronaldo wasn't standing for 3 seconds.
Yeah.
When he then got shoved, because
you picked up the same thing I picked up on.
Because to me, that's
it looked like a takedown.
That's a takedown, because if somebody the easiest way I always explain it is what happened. What I've done in tournament sport, some girl grabs a guillotine, you touch her leg and land the guillotine and get out of the guillotine, and you get 2 for a takedown. It's an easy takedown. But I guess it's that sweep rule where technically he wasn't in a neutral position. He was still seated.
There's a really weird IBJJF rule that might also be as well. But I think
it's that rule, because one of your teammates got screwed by it in a match.
Yeah.
And we didn't understand it, and then we learned the rule that is, if you're
Andre Galvao has a really good video on this. A couple years old. You can probably find it, but it's him specifically explaining. And if you ever read the IBJJF rule book, it is a weird,
because it's from wrestle ups. If you wrestle up into position, you then need to be standing on your feet for 3 seconds before you finish the takedown. You can't just wrestle up into a takedown. That's not. So I think it's that rule. I think technically Garmo was standing, Ronaldo was sitting, but he never got fully up into a standing position.
Standing position.
Yeah. If Garmo would have waited a second for him to actually
if you wait a second, it's not going to work.
But then he wouldn't have done it. Yeah, but there's a shove there that I was like, ooh, 2 points.
That's a takedown for
but it wasn't.
So I think, again, that takedown into the TVs is what does it.
I think the TV.
I also loved that Garmo gets that, immediately gets back to the mat center and just stares and waits for Ronaldo to come back over, and he's just almost just dead-eyeing him in the middle. I love that intensity from Garmo. Just hey man, I don't care what happened, doesn't matter. I've done a bunch of ADCC, back to the center, we're gonna go again.
Yeah.
I love that intensity, and it was cool to see. It's again unfortunate, huge fan of David Garmo. But again, it's awesome that Ronaldo was able to get it done, and does that work and that takedown is probably what is the deciding factor in the match. Moving on to the black belt heavyweight, we have Elder Cruz versus Adam Wardzinski, a teammate match with no coaches.
No coaches.
You picked up on that. I missed that completely.
Well,
coaches.
It's because I listened to earlier matches and I was trying to figure out who was coaching Elder, because we'll talk about that in a later match, because he does something really good in a later match, and then I learned why he did it, and it made a million times more sense. Anyway, but back to the teammate match. They also trained together for their No-GI Worlds camp, so they definitely knew each other's games.
You know the game.
Yeah.
Also, it's Adam Wardzinski.
Yeah.
You know what Adam Wardzinski is a man of very few surprises when you if you are a butterfly guard player in the last 5 years, 8 years maybe at this point, you've studied Adam Wardzinski's game because Marcelo retired.
The other hilarious thing that came out of this was so Lovato made a post about all these positive things that people said to him during No-GI Worlds. They were like, oh, you won your match, blah, and talking so positively towards him. And if you see, like, one of the first comments is Adam Wierzynski, and he's like, somebody at No-GI Worlds told me I had really nice hair and asked what kind of shampoo I use.
Hell yeah. He did have awesome hair.
He does. But, like, you know, Lovato's trying to be all, like, professional about it. Like, they asked me how I did this and how I do this. And, you know, and Wierzynski's like, they asked about my hair.
I love Wierzynski. that dude is awesome.
But
apparently, anyway. I would love to commentate a Wierzynski match.
Yeah.
Cruz wins this. It's very close. Really, it's Elder Cruz maintains a little more activity in passing, and he gets closer to passing attempts.
He almost gets passed a few times. And at the very end, I think it is Lucas Lecce screaming for Wierzynski to go. He's like, go Wierzynski, like that. But it's at the very, very end. Yeah. And it's just because, like, the two of them, like, the last minute of this match is wild.
It is pretty exciting.
Because it's Wierzynski just maintaining and, like, Elder just freaking throwing the kitchen sink at him.
And that's what Elder does. That's what Elder does late. Like, Elder has a flurry in the last minute of the match, and that is how he wins tournaments. Yeah. It's like the Michael Bisping. Like, the last minute of the round, like, he's going to go, and that is a lot of times the deciding factor in what wins him a lot of these majors. Yeah. So, moving on to the...
But no, before we move on, we're going to stay in that bracket because Jimenez is in that bracket.
We're going to stay in that bracket.
We're staying in that bracket. So the semifinals match before this is Cruz and Jimenez. And I watched Jimenez almost all of his matches because he was...
You really enjoy watching Jimenez.
He was on point. Yeah. And when he's on point, he is a madman.
He is something else on point like that. His ability to get your back
it's wild.
He is the best best scramble back taker, but not even a scramble because he's so consistent at it in the world. That double under back take and like even the shuck back take he does, the best guy in the world at that back take.
Yeah, he so in this match it's interesting because Lucas Lecce is basically on point coaching him step by step. And I mean to a point that you can see
Elder.
Yeah, you can see Elder following absolutely everything he's saying. And it's really Elder gaming Jimenez. And allegedly Lucas had told Elder not to scramble with him for any reason. Just don't create scrambles.
Why would you scramble with one of the best scramblers in the world who's going to be in the absolute finals? Yeah,
he just he told him not to. And this was he was in finals at that. Yeah. So but it's if you want to watch a very tactical, like somebody following amazing like direction and actually getting done what they need to get done, Elder Cruz versus Roberto Jimenez in this match.
And then Elder beats him, but
Jimenez
goes on to be in the finals. We'll talk about the absolute finals, which is crazy. Actually, he's at 202. I forget Jimenez is that heavy.
Yeah.
He's gotten way bigger over the years. So moving on to the black belt super heavyweight final, we had Javier Zatruski versus Vinicius Ferreira Gonzalez Trator. This immediately starts off
with an eye poke.
Which, and if you watch the replay, it's not Trator pokes Javier in the eyes. Javier immediately has a heavy collar tie and like kind of knocks through, and you see Vinicius or Trator kind of reach up to like kind of collar tie himself, and he's kind of shorter than him because Trator is a shorter guy for 215 and like pokes him right in the eyes. And it was one of those like, that kind of sucks. Like it didn't seem malicious. It seemed like Trator was reaching up to make his own collar tie, and Javier had like whacked him over. And then in this match, we see that old school game. We see a tornado sweep.
Yes, we do.
Vinicius Trator hits a tornado. Like, I do not remember the last time I saw anyone aside from Cyborg hit a tornado sweep.
It's some wild control. It's a wild strength and control.
I can't even describe it. A tornado sweep is basically a one-handed inverted roll sweep over top to get to top. It's such a weird... We've talked about it a couple of times over the years on the show. I've never been able to describe exactly how tornado sweep works. Like you have to see it and you have to do it to be able to explain it very well. But he hits it and commentary like goes off because it's wild to have someone hit to be able to hit that. And then Javier triangles Trator. Yeah. And it doesn't
get anywhere.
It doesn't work.
Yeah. It was a very interesting match all around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The triangle was super nice too. It was just like
it
was a very nice, like very quick entry into the triangle, and then he
it was kind of random because it was almost like Saul. Is it Saul? No, Zaruski. Saul is his last name.
Yeah.
Javier just like bench presses into a triangle. Like it's white belts when they know you're smaller than them on top of them. They just like bench press you off of them. He just like jumps a triangle off that, and it's like wow. And then he gets it, and you're like, holy crap! Didn't know that would happen.
Yeah. So gets subbed, but did get a hit tornado sweep, which is super cool. Moving on to the men's black belt ultra heavyweight final, we had Roosevelt Souza versus Henki Julissa. The final for the finishing sequence for this is just crazy. Basically, Roosevelt runs, snaps, and then just jumps the back of Henki, and then you see him go forearm over the front, and then switches to other forearm and just yanks, and Julissa goes, "Oh, this sucks, I'm done." Yeah, and just has to tap. I don't have much more on that match. The finishing sequence was the most interesting thing, but it was
that's
they were a really far camera angle out for it, and it was a quick final.
It was.
So moving on to the open class here, we had, again, a lighter guy in Roberto Jimenez taking on Roosevelt Souza, which I don't know the last time. Again, Roberto's not as light as he used to be. I keep thinking that he's like in the 170s. Realistically,
I think he cuts to 170.
Well, now he's 202 for this tournament. I don't know what he walks around at now. He looks way bigger than he used to look.
Yeah.
So again, but a 200-pound guy in the finals is not super uncharacteristic. And because Leandro Lowe was probably around that size as well when he was in the finals. So, I keep thinking of Jimenez as like a 55er, and he hasn't been that many years since he was a juvenile. And so, I think that's where kind of I
always expect him to be smaller than he actually is.
Yeah, he's a pretty large guy.
Yeah.
So we have Roberto Jimenez versus Roosevelt Souza. Roosevelt Souza was black belt ultra heavy, above 215. Roosevelt Souza is what, 230-ish usually?
Probably.
Somewhere around there. So it's like 30 pounds. But the size difference here on the mat was, you could tell that Souza was the bigger guy, but I was, again, kind of surprised how big Jimenez looked here, but he did look a little bit definitely a bit smaller than Souza.
Yeah.
There was one really cool sequence here. Do you want to run through the sequence?
No, you can
go. Basically, Souza gets Jimenez in an armbar, and then Jimenez it's super hard to put away.
Yeah.
And we've talked about him for years being super hard to away. Like, not willing to let it break, but very willing, open. You've taken a seminar with him.
Yeah.
Like, willing to let it break.
Yeah.
For the match win. He jumps and runs all the way around, and then he pulls the arm out. He covers the back, and does he finish? Does he finish Souza?
Yeah.
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 He's able to take Souza's back off of this armbar escape.
Yeah.
Which was wild because the armbar came from him trying to jump Souza's back in the first place. Runs the entire sequence, gets on his back, and then finishes at one arm.
Yeah.
Which you caught a bunch of his matches early today. I watched like highlights.
He did the same exact
thing.
Day. This exact thing is what he did to everybody. And I think when I'm thinking about it, this is what he taught us at Unity when he was jumping people's backs. And he said that he did this because he was a teenage kid versus a bunch of adults in tournaments in Texas. And he said that they would just fuck with him. So he said he had to like jump people's backs. So he just got really efficient because he was the teen with a bunch of adults.
And a bunch of the adults that are bigger. And you're in Texas, which is a historically, larger demographic for people.
So he said he would jump people's backs because he knew he was safe back there.
Oh, that's really funny.
And that was like his thing.
It is really funny to watch like a transition. The transition's cool. It's on Instagram.
He traps the arm as he rolls through.
Yeah. Again, we talked about his back taking. Like he is the best scramble back taker in the sport. We've talked about it for probably almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
Like he is really, he can do things in that scramble for the back take that other people cannot do. Like he has a proficiency and a depth of skill there that other people do not have. It's one of those things that you cannot replicate that. It looks like a feel thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like he just has the balance to swing around to get there, and he's looping the choke in as he's doing it, as he's chucking the hooks in, as he's rolling you over. It's all like a bunch of different pieces happening simultaneously perfectly to put him square on your back.
with the choke and momentum to turn you to drive the choke through and turn.
Yeah, it's wild.
It is wild. He wins the absolute class. Doesn't win his weight class.
No, but
wins.
In this, he beat it. He beat AIGA Jalissa.
Mm-hmm.
He beat Francisco.
He takes Jalissa down, doesn't he?
He takes Jalissa down and jumps his back and chokes him out.
Yeah. I remember seeing that one.
He does the same thing to Francisco.
Yeah, remember the guy that took Big Dan down? Yeah, the trials winner, AIGA Jalissa.
Dude,
Jimenez takes him at 200
pounds. He was shooting on him, and I was like, dude, that's a big man. Like, watching the two of them line up against each other, like, Roberto looks tiny. And then,
because Hankey's bigger than Roosevelt. Hankey was in the finals of Ultra Heavy. Hankey's a bit bigger than Roosevelt.
And he shoots on, like, he was shooting on him. I was like, holy shit, why are you trying to be under that guy? You don't want to be under him. But it was.
Jimenez has that dog in him, as it be.
Oh, yeah. And it was, when it's on, it's on.
Yeah. He had some fun. Jimenez has some fun matches. Like, he's a guy that really, like.
And he comes out of nowhere. Like, you're like, dude, all of a sudden, he just.
I can't wait to see him at South American trials. It's coming up. It's going to be soon. If he wins again, like, I think very few guys.
Is he good 88?
I assume he's going to be at 88.
Because 77 is
69, 169.
No, I mean
day before weigh-ins.
It is, but 77 is Galval.
But he's a medalist.
Oh, so Micah.
So he goes in. Yeah, he doesn't fight Micah again. Yeah.
But then
you have a bunch of other monsters at 77.
But then do you know we might get Jimenez and Gorillahan.
Majid. At 77, though, because Majid's going to be at 77. Jimenez might go to 88. But again, if he's 200 here, same day on the mat weigh-ins, like minutes before you compete, he might make the cut down for ADCC. But he doesn't. He looks like he's put on a ton more size.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, he was shredded for 77 at trials, and he doesn't look. Like, he's not as shredded, but he looks like he's put on 10 to 20 pounds more of muscle than last year, South American trials.
So
regardless, he's going to be at one of the weight classes, I guarantee you.
Yeah, and he's going to be a storm to deal with.
So let's move into the female open class, Fionn Davies versus Gabby McComb. Dude, Fionn Davies, her and Clay.
Yeah.
The best in the world. Campo's in there as well. But I think Clay has a win over Campo. Clay has a win over Fionn. Fionn, again, is on the smaller weight classes, but holy shit. To have, what weight class was she in this week?
Light, which is 141.
She's in 141?
No, 137.
Yeah, 136. 136.
It's actually 137.
Oh, 137, IBJJF, and you're in the absolute finals. McComb is, again, only, two weight classes above her?
Middle, 147, one weight class above.
Yeah, one weight class above her. So it is really cool to have
47.
Two women in the absolute finals that are under 150.
Yeah.
Which is I don't remember the last time that we have seen that for a women's absolute. Like, this is a really special women's absolute final. And then it just goes on to show how good Fionn Davies is.
Yeah. Because Gabby gets a triangle at one point. I mean, almost locked triangle, and then goes for a Kimura, and I'm like, uh-oh. Fionn goes down, and then, nope, does not do that.
Yeah.
Not at all.
They exchange. Fionn eventually, off a foot sweep, grabs the back, and then Fionn is a phenomenal finisher. I think Fionn is probably one of the better finishers in the sport when she gets
She's
something.
very good.
Like, she is very, very, I don't use the word technical because we kind of throw that around a lot, but the way that she's able to kind of isolate, and then she has very good lever mechanics on things that she grabs. But here, she gets a rear naked choke. It's really interesting. I'm kind of curious, because we have two smaller women in the absolute finals, do you think this would have played out the same way if she would have finished in the same way here if it was against Gabby Prasanna or Kendall or one of the larger women in the divisions, or would Fionn have to change how? Because we've seen Fionn versus Tiny Porfirio before a couple years ago. That was a big weight disparity that we saw Porfirio really lean into. I'm curious to see.
She's the European Open champion.
Tiny?
No, Fionn is.
Fionn? Oh,
so
she did win that.
I'm wondering if she was absolute. If she was the absolute champion too for.
For some reason I think this is Fionn's first absolute.
Okay.
I don't know why I think that, but I think because in my head it would stick out.
Yeah.
A woman under 150 winning the absolute.
Yeah.
I could be completely wrong here, and I apologize if I am, but like in my head, I think this is really unique. This is kind of equivalent to me of Lachlan making it to third at 2019 in the absolute. So give a guy under 170 that's making it, versus Ali and Gaudio and Kaina and like all of those guys making it that far historically. Like that's just, it's not a thing that we really see. It is really interesting to see Fionn here be able to like technique kind of conquers all, but against a woman that is so close to her in the weight class. But Fionn gets to a bunch of other women earlier in the event. We were kind of, I don't want to discount.
It looks like in 2020 she did IBJJF European Open, both absolute and weight. She did absolute and weight. Oh, that's first place IBJ in 2020. But
No-gi.
Yeah.
But then it's European place. Oh, okay.
That is open.
That is open. Okay. So she's done it before. I'm completely
maybe that's
incorrect.
Maybe that's in the gi because it doesn't say no-gi. So that's in the gi.
Okay.
Yeah, because it would say no-gi if it was no-gi.
Right.
And it doesn't say that.
Thanks, BJJ Heroes.
So she's won it in the gi. She's not won it in no-gi before.
So now she has both. It's cool. Again, super cool to see Fionn double gold. Again, pound for pound, top 3 any given day.
Yeah.
Like
definitely.
her, Clay, Campo. Like any given matchup.
We didn't see Campo in the store, did we?
No, I didn't see her. I haven't had a chance. It was a busy weekend for me. I haven't had a chance to go through as many matches as I would like.
She was in it, right?
I don't remember seeing her.
Yeah, that's weird.
Anyway. But it would not surprise me. So that does it for IBJJF No-GI Worlds. This is probably the longest show we'll have this year. Let's quickly move into a preview of AIGA. Look, I love it. I love doing the show. We have 4 teams. AIGA, go back and watch the last time we recapped it if you want to hear us recap it. It is an interesting format. You field a team of gentlemen across a number of different weight classes, and then the 2 teams match up, kind of in a quintet style event, but it's all of your guys.
Wrestling duels.
Yeah, all of your guys go against the other guy at that weight class on day 1, and then it's like a round robin, I think, right? Is it?
What do you mean?
It's round robin. So each team fights in team, and at the end of the event, the best
team wins.
The best record is essentially what wins. So for team, I apologize to all the European listeners out there. It is out of Kazakhstan. I am very bad with a lot of my pronunciations for that collection of names. I apologize for everyone I butcher. Team Universal Fighters. We have Team Magomedev. We have. You want to do this or want me to do it?
I'm gonna do it worse than you.
Okay, we have Shakhbanov, Magomed. We have Akhmedov, Zaru. We have.
You missed the first one.
I said that. I butchered it poorly.
Oh, okay.
We said it.
I didn't know you said T.
We have Garaberg, Imanov. We have Rivian, Rizvanov. We have
Gazimurad.
Gaziev. We have Abdulov, Abduhilai. We have Abdul Kilarov, Makomadev, and we have Bilarov, Abdul Karaman. We have Gazid Mohammad Abdulavev, and we have Ruslan Abdulmev. Watch out for Ruslan here.
Ruslan, and up top, the one guy, I want to say, I'm trying to think which.
Ruslan is the guy last time.
Yeah, Ruslan
that was really impressive versus Luke Griffith. Yeah. I think. And he's the guy that on the UWW
well,
scene.
He's been around for a bazillion years.
Yeah.
Right? he has a beard and we
real
used to see
cool guy.
Fights MMA has fought MMA.
I think
before.
so. Yep.
Yeah.
I think Universal Fighters has a lot of guys that MMA guys.
Yeah.
Timo Delfo, we have Felipe Machado, we have Diego Hayes, Baby Shark, we have Gabriel Souza, we have Cayuna Gabriel, we have Dante Leon, we have Mickey Galvao, we have Isaac Michel, we have Giancarlo Bodoni, Luke Griffith, and Big Dan Manasoiu. I am happy to see that Baby Shark looks like his knee is fine.
Yeah.
Because he's in this tournament still, and if he was not, then he would not be in it. So that is awesome. For Team Battle Force, we have Nariman Maidabev, we have Atagev Yetzlov, we have Senik Botlabev, we have Omar Manarov, we have Dairev Makhmedov, we have Abdi Orbek,
We have Taikavev Magomed. We have Puyan Romani. And then for Team Acai Republic, we have Felipe Massin. We have Dominic Mejia. We have Henrique Cordio. We have Kennedy Maciel, Cobrina Jr. We have Jonathan Barbosa. We have Igor Dos Santos. We have Henrique Cardosa. We have Bones Devontae Johnson. And we have Anton Demikudrov. I apologize again.
Hey, you did a good job.
To all of the folks in Eastern Europe and every other place for every other name I butchered.
We try to do our best. We try.
I apologize. I really do not have a lot of experience
don't we have one more
in
team left, or is it
just four? That was four.
Four? Okay.
Just 4 teams. Please don't make me do any more names. So it should be fun. Again, Team Adult. These are always. It's a very unique rule set.
Yeah.
It's more of a wrestling, like you said, wrestling dual meet format.
And I believe they take out heel hooks. I believe it's all straight ankles.
Did they have them last time?
They did not. They were straight ankle.
The time before they had them.
Yeah. But the last time they didn't have any heel hooks because they were straight ankle and everything.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a unique rule set. I think for the finals they might. I don't remember. They will do a good job on the broadcast explaining it. They are very, very long events. We will cover as much as we are able to next week, but they are specifically difficult events to cover because they are long, large, 2-day events. With each athlete having...
It's actually in the middle of the week, which is even weirder.
Yeah, with each athlete having a bunch of different matches, regardless of wins or losses. So you can't even bracket how tournament goes based on the wins and losses. It's just score for overall team at the end.
Yeah.
And then that determines the winner, and then that determines at the final of all the round robins who wins.
No. You said? Did you say Dante Leon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
I said all those guys.
Okay. My brain is falling apart.
It's been a long show.
It's been a long.
So that is this week. Let's move into the outro of the show. We're just at the 2-hour and 30-minute mark of the show. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Very long show. Miranda, you refed for 17 hours?
I refed for 17 hours.
And I competed for an hour.
Yeah, and if you want, you can find me on a post somewhere on on Facebook about my facial expression, basically.
Yeah. Had a good time.
Good times.
Been a very long show. We had some folks who reached out hey, break down your matches. We're not really going to do that. I did very well in my gi bracket. Won that.
You heel hooked somebody in the gi.
I did. It was legal, and I had a good time, and I'm very happy
and I
got
reffed the match. So I mean.
Oh yeah, you reffed that match.
I reffed that match.
I didn't realize you reffed that match until the photo after. I was like, oh, that's you.
I reffed that match.
I posted it on the Grappling on Instagram.
Because when I was at the table, they were talking about, they were trying to figure out what matches I would get next. And they were like, do you want 145 black and brown, belt males? And I'm like, fuck yeah, I want those matches.
That's Maine. I barely made weight. I cut for 20 days and dieted down. I weighed in 146.2 because there's a pound allowance. They were like, you're close. I was like, take it off. And I took off everything. I made weight exactly. It was a tougher cut in my 30s than I had expected.
Yeah.
And then I took a nap because they were running, I think, about 3 hours behind.
Yeah, we were 4 or 5 hours behind.
Yeah,
total.
At the end of the day, it was 4 hours. It was 5 hours behind.
It was.
And then I woke up and they called me to bracketing Maine, and I go to bracketing. They're like, "You want to go 170?"
I heard them say that your name at one point.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want them in my bracket, but I'll do another bracket if you need a match. And then a minute later, I've been up for about 40 seconds at this point because I was sleeping essentially near bracketing.
Yeah.
And then I woke up and I went, I have never competed above 155, and I specifically cut to 45 or 46 in this case
why the hell
to not have to fight heavier, stronger guys because, I don't want to do that. And I've just agreed to fight this guy in the gi, which is, not where I'm strongest, at 170. And I took a match off him.
Yeah.
And it was good. And then he very definitively decided that I was not going to take a second match off him.
Yeah.
And cracked the arm pretty good the second time.
Nice.
And then went into another bracket, and in the Masters bracket for No-GI did very well. Went into adult, it was a little tougher.
Yeah.
But overall, a good weekend of competing, a lot of fun. We think we rolled out of there at about 11:30. Had some of my students out there who did really well. I got to coach some of the kids.
Coached some other adults. It was overall a fun day to get out there.
Our other podcast member.
Yeah, Josh.
Josh was
also reffing.
He's also reffing. Yeah.
At one point, Josh comes off his reffing match to help coach me. Like, Zach is there.
Yeah,
my wife is there.
I saw him run through at one point, and I was like, there goes Josh.
Yeah, Josh got to watch me get a really nice pass to a rear naked choke win. I got a nice bow and arrow win. I got a gi heel hook win. I got another rear naked choke win. It was a good day.
Yeah.
That was 2 days ago. It hurts to open my jaw.
Yep.
It hurts to turn my head. I forget how much these things beat me up. Also, me going to welterweight was probably a one and done. I am very much not 170, and it gives me a new appreciation for all the folks that at the world level that can go up and do absolute, like Jimenez and Theon. Like, man, they are far better athletes and fighters and like more game than I am. I had 4 different people come up to me that I did not know and go, "Man, you're a motherfucker." Like, as feedback. 4 separate different people that saw my match with either the welterweight guy or the 45er. And, like, that was their feedback. Like, you're a motherfucker. And I was like, why? Like, I've never met you. Like, that is what you're opening with. Like, I saw your match. I was like, good for you, man. I was just like, what a wild conversation. It wasn't a conversation. Like, that was the statement they made. I saw your matches, man. That was their comment to me.
That's awesome.
It was very funny. Again, usually on this side of, like, broadcast and commentary and, like, you know, I don't compete a whole lot, like once or twice a year. It was just very funny to have that feedback in those divisions of like, it was a pretty big tournament.
The matches I saw, I mean,
they were good. I felt good. Yeah. I feel terrible now, but, and then we got to go home and watch Worlds and watch Fight Pass Invitational and realize that the hot tub got unplugged. And so it was not ready. So I had to unfill it and refill it. And so I've been like, very, very sore since then, but it was awesome. Kind of makes me want to get back out there and compete more often, like you do.
Yeah.
You got what? You got not Vegas. You have Austin in what?
This weekend.
6 days.
Yeah, 6 days.
You're flying out to the ADCC Open.
Yeah.
So you see Miranda at the ADCC Open.
Yeah, come
say hello.
Come say hi. I'll probably have a look on my face. Don't
they merge you with adult?
No, they haven't yet.
Thank God.
No,
that was a nightmare.
Like, so I have my master bracket at my weight, and then I went into advanced at my weight because I'm in intermediate because I'm a purple belt, and I went in for very soon. We changed that, and then I go into advanced at my weight in master, and I was alone, and I think I'm still alone. I don't know if they're gonna merge me
with Kravar.
Yeah, but you did remind me, which made me feel a lot better, that I am like ranked decently because I won.
You're not going to get no seed.
Yeah,
you won ADCC Masters Open for Jersey.
And
you've done trials. You've done a couple. You've done 3 trials at this point.
Yeah, no, 2 trials. I've done 2 trials and then the Las Vegas Open. I did the Las Vegas Open and then I did West Coast trials and then I didn't do East Coast trials the first time. Rob did East Coast trials. I didn't.
Okay, I thought you did.
And then when we went to go do West Coast, I did it.
All aboard.
And then,
okay.
That was the only one. That was the one where I sat there and I watched it and I was like, well, why did I not do this? Yeah. And I got mad at myself. Even though,
that's what I do every tournament. And I did
it's
this
a rough
weekend.
go, but you know.
Yeah, out there competing now.
Whatever.
It's awesome. We covered enough. It's awesome. Like, you get out, I think, more than any other people on grappling.
Yeah, I try. I try at least.
It's awesome. It inspires me to go out and do it. And then I cut the weight and fight welterweights. And I'm like, I see why I do this once or twice a year.
Well, and that's why I do IBJJF and I do things that have people my age.
Yeah, there is
because, you know.
I did good at the age.
Yeah.
I did good in Masters, so I was happy about that. But Miranda, this has been a very long show.
Yes, very long show.
I got nothing else. You got anything else going on?
Nope, just that.
All right. As always on the show, I'm your host, Mange, my co-host.
Miranda.
We have the Grappling Miranda. See you on that. Wherever it is, stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.